Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here,
And Blue Dragon 5.
and welcome to the show where we wax poetic about the movies we see on a month-to-month basis. It's time to crack open our
Movie
movie
Memoirs!
memoirs. All right, that's right, Dragon. It is March 2023. It is the month of the sequels, apparently. The summer movie season is just coming earlier and earlier. We've got a lot to get to, so let's start things off with the news. And Dragon, usually we kind of do the bad news first, but we've got breaking news off the top. That is not bad news, just to clarify. But it is breaking, as in it happened literally within the last hour. Dragon, you want to take it?
Yeah, sure. So, within the last hour, folks, to I think all of our surprise, we got a trailer. I don't know if you call it a teaser trailer or not, because we didn't really get a lot from it. But it's a trailer for Secret Invasion.
AKA, this is my theory, Dragon, to kind of blend into, the bad news side of things. I think this is Marvel's like, hey, don't pay attention to that other thing that's happening. Pay attention to this. Look at this. But seriously, though, I really do like this trailer. Dragon, I've had one foot out the door with the MCU for a while. I did like Quantumania more than a lot of people, but at the same time, there's also projects like She-Hulk I pretty much sat out of. So this definitely has my interest, though. This looks like the most interesting that we've ever seen Nick Fury, for sure. And, I mean, it's definitely the darkest tone that we've gotten in the, post-Endgame side of the MCU so far. And so I'm definitely, as a tone piece, which is basically what the trailer is, I think it did a good job of kind of, establishing, okay, this is definitely looks like, even though it's dealing with some heady sci-fi stuff, it looks like it's going to be hopefully a more dark kind of grounded take, which I think is something the MCU needs right now.
Yeah, I mean, some of this was recently with the posting of this trailer. They've kind of given us more plot details and kind of summaries and stuff, mainly in the casting of characters and who the characters are. Like, we don't know really anything about the story, just basically some little blurb is written about who's playing who and stuff. So what we do know. So we had a few things clarified. Kingsley Ben-Adir, who the guy who played Malcolm X from One Night Miami, who was the guy. Remember, there's that scene where Nick Fury is walking in. He's kind of meeting with some. Well, no, not Nick Fury. Talos is grabbing the guy by the scruff, and everyone in the restaurant turns into the same guy because they're Skrulls.
Yes.
That guy. He's our main bad guy. So the idea is that he is a rogue Skrull from Talos' team that we set up at the end of Captain Marvel. In the intermediate years, this guy is kind of caused like a cell of Skrulls that have gone rogue and become traditional Skrulls, which are bad guys. And we now know who Emilia Clarke is playing. She's playing Talos' daughter, who we set up way back in Captain Marvel, like the little the child Skrull. So that's her grown up.
Okay.
Michael Rambo's little playmate. It's Emilia Clarke. And one last thing, to facilitate, this is like a thing they kind of put up in the news recently as well, like a few cryptic shots of not cryptic, this kind of like spy angles from people on set. They announced this, but we've seen him a little bit in action. Harrison Ford being recast as General Thunderbolt Ross, and I bring that up because they've said Rhodey, who we saw in this trailer, is in this trailer, is going to be in this show. We're setting him up for Armor Wars and everything. Rhodey is very much going to be the right-hand man of the president, and this kind of tracks the fact that he and Ross were working together during the whole Accords thing. So, Yeah,
that's actually one of my favorite elements of this is just the fact that Rhodey at this point is pretty much a pure antagonist.
Yeah, or at the very least, kind of back to the Civil War thing where he's the reluctant antagonist. But yeah, he's Rhodey's going to be an interesting place because remember, Stark Industries is very much under fire after after No Way Home and Far From Home, both of them.
Sure.
he's bearing the brunt of what to do with Stark Industries and everything. Anyway, so again, just overall, I'm with you. I'm feeling this, but we did not really get a lot plot wise on this. But again, it's more of just like the big optimistic hope is that this is going to be kind of in line with like Winter Soldier, given how great Nick Fury was in that. So hopefully, we're gonna get to kind of some core stuff with Nick Fury, because that was the most well characterized Nick Fury ever was in the MCU. That Winter Soldier movie.
Totally. And this definitely looks to be a return to form to that flavor of Nick Fury. So
yeah.
All right. So yeah, let's circle back to the actual bad news.
Yep.
So we have two big names in the world of entertainment that have passed this month. First of all, Tom Sizemore. And Dragon, this is one of those people that I feel like is just a consummate, like, I mean, have you looked at this dude's filmography? I'm sure you have. Oh my God, he did so much.
Oh yeah, I mean, we've talked about some of the stuff he's been in.
Mm-hmm. I mean, a journeyman career.
Yeah. Koski Productions in the comments is how late am I, Buckers? Well, we did talk about breaking news with the Secret Invasion trailer that dropped, but we're just at the start of things really after that. So we're talking death. We're talking all the bad stuff. We've killed Tom Sizemore apparently, so we're talking that. Yeah, this is really sad, Tom Sizemore, because he had we knew he wasn't doing well. It was an aneurysm of some sort, and it was horrible, and we knew he was not long for the world most likely. So yeah, he's very much a journeyman of an actor. He was in Saving Private Ryan very memorably.
I would say that's probably his most famous performance, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, that and Heat, they were kind of the big ones for him. Yeah, he's been in a bunch of stuff, Tom Sizemore.
Also, I hate to admit it, but like as a kid, I do recognize him from Celebrity Rehab. Mm-hmm. I hate to admit that I watched that trash back in the day, but I did.
There was a show called Celebrity Rehab?
Yes, and he was in 2 seasons of it.
Well, it's not morbid at all. Yep. Okay, so that brings us to yes, Koski, you're summoning the death with your presence here. Okay, so that brings us to Lance Reddick.
Yeah, this is a big one. I'm not too familiar with some of his bigger work because I haven't seen The Wire, and that's like one of the main things he's known from. But I mean, he's definitely a huge name.
Oh yeah, you know him from stuff, Tiki. See, Lance Reddick.
Say The Wire is probably like the #1 role that he's had over.
Well, that's his iconic role, and I think I never watched The Wire, so I don't know. I think he might have been the star of The Wire. He always had a very leading or starring role in The Wire. But yeah, so Lance Reddick, very talented, very respected actor. The man had such range because on one hand, you have again his role in The Wire, which is heralded, from what I understand. You have stuff like the thing I saw him in most frequently in terms of a TV show was he got a lot of cop shows over the years because of The Wire. I saw him; he was the chief in Bosch. I've told you about Bosch before, right? Like the noir cop show. It's on Amazon. Yeah, he's the boss on Bosch, so he was always really good, and he always had like a fun way of saying Bosch, is that guy. The big thing, though, I think in recent years, the most renowned role, I think we all love him for, it's a small role, but it's a very cherished role. Sharon, in John Wick, he was the concierge in John Wick. He was always delightful when he just, didn't have a lot to do, but when he was there, he kind of exuded the charm and the sell of the Continental. Yes, Mr. Wickie's waiting for you. It's just a wonderful concept.
Yeah, I kind of feel like on that note, weren't they planning on doing a Continental spinoff? Like that's probably going to put a wrench in that, right?
Well, no, that was a prequel, Tiki, so not necessarily. It's just I don't know if they ever. The word was that Keanu Reeves was going to have a cameo in the Continental series. Now that my assumption there is that we'd have like a flash forward scene or like a framing device scene somewhere, and then maybe there's a chance maybe he has a cameo in that, but it's going to predominantly be in the past of the comics. Okay. We're going to have like a young Ian McShane and probably a young Sharon, so I think they're probably fine there. The word is that show's still going on, so I imagine, yeah, so it's probably on anyway, but here's the thing you really know him from, Tiki. DuckTales. He was Lunaris in DuckTales.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a huge role, but yes.
Yeah, but also there's a bunch of other stuff. Like, I mean, he's also just just with the range. He's played like he was on Rick and Morty playing the train conductor guy. That was him. Again, the man had range.
Indeed, indeed.
And I think the last thing we both saw him was One Night in Miami. He was He worked for Malcolm again. The Kingsley Ben-Adir connection. He was Malcolm X's his lead guy. He was
right.
like the security guy. And anyways, point being, this guy, he always had like a balance of charm, and all these roles, I think there was like a balance of charm, cool, and control. And just the man exuded that. And plus he died relatively young at 60. It's a shame to see him go because the man was just delightful, and especially like he died like on the press tour, not even at home. I think he died on the press tour of John Wick. That's what I heard. So yeah, it's a shame. He'll be missed unequivocally.
Kotsky, The Wire is like that one great American novel that we all have that we need to read one day, but we're too intimidated to start.
I've touched the spine of that book. I have, but
I mean, that's how I feel about it. It's like I would love to just because I'm sure that it's great, but I also know that the first season is a little dated. I know that it takes a while to get going, and it's and it's very slowly paced. So it's one of those kind of like bucket list things that I know I need to do at some point.
I think a part of it for you and I is like, we're tempted to watch it, but then we kind of remember in the back of our heads, but we're the Breaking Bad generation.
I guess.
I mean, in some part, it's like everyone's always says. Like,
I mean, I consider myself the Lost generation. Dragon, speak for yourself.
Okay, well,
we wouldn't have Breaking Bad without Lost.
I'm sorry, is Lost a crime drama?
No, but it's a highly serialized concept.
So you've blown up my point for what reason exactly right now?
I'm just saying, when it comes to TV, that's what I associate my youth with.
Okay, my point is for the perennial crime drama show, Tiki, there is, for many people, there was The Wire, which then got supplanted by Breaking Bad. Hence,
all right.
You and I, of those two, were in the Breaking Bad generation.
Fair enough.
Anyway.
I'm just saying, while The Wire was going on, I was in the Lost generation. Anyways.
All right, moving on.
Okay, so let's transition from literal deaths to potential deaths of franchises and actors' careers. Yeah, so Jonathan Majors. Jesus Christ. Folks, the only reason we're even covering this, I don't even want to really get into the speculation on did he do it? Did he not do it? Obviously, some stuff, he got Dragon, he got released pretty early into this thing. But I don't want to speculate on that. The one thing that we do have to kind of cover is what does this mean for Marvel? I think at the very least, it means that Loki season 2 is probably going to be delayed at the very least. What do you think, Dragon?
Well, to be fair, everything else has been delayed already, so it's going to be kind of hard to notice so long as it comes out this year. As you said right now, they're like, well, we said summer, so we're going to August.
Late August, baby.
But, yeah, I mean, the Majors thing, it's a major mess, to say the least. But yeah, it's not.
I feel much like the Justin Roiland situation right now. The trouble for him is not necessarily the actual charges, but hearsay that has come out because of the charges. Does that make sense?
Well, I know that's the thing. I mean, the man's career is. I mean, Roiland's career, sadly, has been kind of torpedoed. Ultimately, again, let me say sadly in quotes because we don't know, but let's just say it's. This. Plainly looking at it, just the idea that based on the specific thing he's been charged with, everything got torpedoed before we got to that point, and then before everyone made up their minds about him. So it feels kind of like a hollow victory if there is any victory to be had. Where with Majors feels like, I mean, my instinct is nah, it's probably just I'd like to think that's not true with Majors, but whether or not it is, that's a huge kind of PR nightmare, especially when your whole cinematic universe and the next stage of it hinges on this one guy. Now, good news, he can be easily recast given the
because he's a variant. Yeah,
I know. So it's kind of a good news, bad news thing, but still, it's the fact that we
I'm
had
sure they're
this team.
kicking themselves for like the Legion of Kane's post credit scene,
That's
Dragon,
the thing. It's kind of
because they already established, like, damn it, they all look like him.
see, that was the problem, is the fact that we showed all the Kangs, but we already kind of had that with the He Who Remains, so we kind of had a feeling they were all going to look like him anyway. But it's the fact that we have Loki in the can, so there's a
Ezra
lot.
Miller, we need you to reverse the timeline.
Oh no, we can't go to him either. The fact is, it's a big mess that my instincts tell me that that sounds like there's been like recanting of statements and stuff. So I think he's gonna be all right, but even if there is like a somewhat happy end of this Majors thing, it's still going to be really like it's going to be like one of those forced smiles at at a media event. It's going to be one of those like, hey, Jonathan Majors, he beat the rap. Look at him go, he beat the rap. It's going to be yet again kind of a hollow victory of like, well, I mean, he's like, yay, hooray, we mislabeled someone maybe, and he's had a comeback, I guess.
I feel like Johnny Depp, there's like an like trajectory there where we're happy for his comeback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, that's the thing. We had a painstaking trial to kind of demonstrate that, though. That's the thing. Just to show you, oh man, that poor Depp guy. Wow.
You can have just Jonathan be the voice and hire Glenn Halberton to be the actor.
God. Wow. Yeah, there's no PR nightmare that's going to come out of that one. Well, we painted his face blue. No one's going to be able to tell. Until it was in the comics. Let him come after us. Anyway.
I know. I bet they would have spent a little bit more to make his face blue the whole time in Ant-Man, right?
Yeah. So it's a point being, folks. It's a mess. Marvel's this has not been a good month for Marvel.
It really hasn't. It's not been a good year for Marvel, frankly.
Well, it's been it was already bumpy phase 4. Now it's a really rocky start to things. So
and Sony's sitting here like, haha, we have the only thing that actually did well in phase 4.
Anyway.
All right. So, Dragon, we have the Ike Perlmutter news to talk about, but it's not really my area of expertise, so I'm going to kind of hand it off to you for the most part.
I looked into it a little bit. There's not a whole lot I can authoritatively say here because I can only tell you my understanding of the situation. So, Ike Perlmutter, just to summarize who this guy is, Ike Perlmutter was the guy in charge of Marvel Entertainment. So, just to put it in context, this guy used to be Kevin Feige's boss. Back in the day. This is the guy who was in charge of basically the media section. If I understand correctly, Marvel Entertainment technically owns Marvel Comics. Basically, the head of the Hydra, so to speak, is Marvel Entertainment, which this guy was in charge of. That's at least my understanding. And then it goes down. Then comics is folded into that. But that's the main thing I just wanted to have clarified. If comics is on top of the wrong, then entertainment, or vice versa. The point being, in charge of the media and the marketing and the toys and everything, that's Marvel Entertainment. So back in the day when Marvel faced bankruptcy, Perlmutter was the guy tasked with essentially the cost-cutting event, in which he was the guy selling off the movie rights. And basically, this guy essentially is responsible for why we have the whole Sony and the Fox, and essentially why
he's
Disney's
probably retroactively responsible for why Disney now owns Fox. If you think about it.
Well, that's the thing too, Tiki. Because what I was getting to is that in selling all the rights, he also was the guy who made the $4 billion deal with Iger.
Right. Oh, okay. So yeah, he literally is the guy responsible for that.
But it's so ironic that this guy, on one hand, is responsible for that deal. On the other hand, he's responsible for like why Disney's had to pay through the nose to get the other stuff. Yeah. It's kind of funny how that works. Anyway, so the word here is that there was a time actually where he tried to get Kevin Feige fired at some point. I think it was over Doctor Strange. Oddly enough, that's what I heard. Which basically, this Feige guy is going to be the ruin of us all. Get rid of him, out some. So there's always some bad blood there. And basically, Perlmutter over time, he was
that probably made him look like a huge idiot.
Yeah, the word was that this guy. I'm not just going to throw senility out there, callously, but let's just say this guy was he was kind of treated senile at a certain point. He was basically like,
Mm.
hey, this guy was very cheap. He was trying. There was like an infamous story from what I heard that he tried to get everyone to instead of like popcorn at the movies or screenings and stuff. It was like we'll give him bags of chips, little bags of chips.
Mm.
So ultimately, this guy was kind of kept on the payroll, and then basically, in the big restructuring of everything, all these firings, and basically accounting for the streaming errors that were most likely done by the predecessor to Bob Iger is the second term of Iger. Basically, this guy's officially been let go. Like, okay, you're not really contributing that much. We're not going to pay you for appearances. We're just going to get you out of there. So it's kind of what's happening from the sounds of things. This guy was like, the last good decision he made has been a long while coming. Since the last good decision he made was 2009. It sounds like.
Oh, jeez.
When the big deal was made. So,
Uh-huh.
so that's essentially what we're looking at. The way I understand it, I think the way as far as they've gone into without being super business savvy about what it means, because so essentially Marvel Entertainment folded officially completely into Disney. So I'm not sure entirely what the implications are there. If that means like everything, including Marvel Comics, is fully under the Disney purview anymore, which is already kind of was already, but like I don't know if there's like a big shift in what that used to mean to what it means now. So I guess we'll say. I just think it means like we lost the guy who didn't really know what he was doing.
Yeah, that's why I really don't have a lot to speak on, because I really didn't know what his role was, and it doesn't sound like it was much.
That's what I'm saying. He basically used to have a big role, now he doesn't. So say la vie. It's just basically it's like another like, hey, forget about that firing that we're not going to talk about. Let's talk about this firing. That's essentially what it feels like ultimately. Let's fire Grandpa.
All right. So speaking of people who may or may not be fired, you want to talk about Daredevil?
Okay, so Daredevil Born Again. There've been a lot of things kind of announced. Again, it really bugs me, irks me that we're still like in the speculation thing. We can't just all kind of like say this is absolutely happening or not. Honestly, because I feel it makes me think there's gonna be like a shoe that's gonna drop, and there's gonna be a lot
Dragon,
of
I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Like when it comes to Daredevil, I'm just kind of like at this point, I'm bracing for disappointment.
all I can tell you, and for good or bad, all I can tell you is that it really feels like Disney's the MCU's future really rides on the success of Daredevil Born Again. So we'll see how that goes. But essentially,
I don't. This is like the first long-term show that they're doing with like more than like 10 episodes in a season. I don't think they're ready for that. First off,
I don't think they have a choice at this point, Tiki. They gotta we're gonna give them like the episodes that this show's gonna need. It's gonna be a show that everyone's definitely absolutely gonna watch.
I just hope it's not a quantity over quality situation.
I think honestly, Tiki, my impression is that they need those. They need more episodes than they've been putting out. That's them responding to that. That's what it feels like.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right.
So anyway, the point being, there's been like a lot of little bits of news and speculations and stuff that's been released this month. So I'm going to go over the most important stuff. So big thing. I believe this has been confirmed, like officially, but the word is on the street at least is that Vanessa has been recast, and the situation in which why we are recasting her is quite unfortunate. It sounds like we've recast Vanessa not because they didn't want the original actress back, but because the original actress was in a contract for a show that was picked up for a second season that they then changed their minds about. Now the second season is not happening, so we did all this for nothing. And we're kind of stuck with the new actors. That's essentially what it sounds like has happened there, which is very sad. But it still does not answer the big looming question for this series. The whole like, is this a direct continuation, or are we just doing like the multiverse thing, which is basically we're going to salvage as much as we can from the show that everyone loved, and we're just going to like hopefully make something that could rival it, which obviously is the tallest order in the world. But so we still have no direct ruling on that, but the recasting scared a lot of people, and that it was maybe leaning towards one side or another. And so that brings us to the big looming question, the biggest looming question for the show. Because we keep announcing people that we're bringing back. Like, hey, we're bringing back John Bernthal. That's official. He's going to be in the show. Yay! But where are Foggy and Karen? So this is the big tense thing in the room here, because there is going to be a huge outcry if Foggy and Karen don't come back, let alone if the actors who played them.
I mean, those two are like the heart of the original show, man. They really are.
Plus, I mean, if you're continuing season 4 in some regard, Matt Murdock in She-Hulk did mention that he did have partners at his firm. So that implies that what they didn't say him by name, but that implies that Nelson, Murdoch, and Page was still like the whole season 4 setup was still
right,
there.
right.
Regardless, I mean, the embarrassing thing is that I've seen the last time I saw Deborah Ann Wool was on Michael Rosenbaum's podcast, in which it was very very recent, let's say maybe end of last year kind of space. She said there have been no calls, but they're now shooting, so time has passed in between. She said she'd love to come back, but no one's been calling her phone. But then again, is she hiding that, or is she able to say that? Or like, we don't know.
Uh-huh.
And again, no one knows anything. I don't think anyone knows anything. No one's. Elton Hunson's really under the radar. I don't think anyone's. I think just Plum. No one's asked him. I don't think anyone's asked him. Period. Just in terms of like, hey, Eldon, you going to be in the show? I don't think anyone's bothered just to ask him the question.
right.
Which I feel is a shame. Like, come on, man, that's Foggy. Okay, so here's the last.
Megan, I think we cursed that guy by casting him as Jew Wario.
But he did a great job in our fictional biopic. It was an Oscar-worthy turn. I don't care what anyone says.
I still think it's solid casting.
I know, it's absolutely solid casting. Okay, anyway, so the two other things that were a few other things. We have Michael Gandolfini, James Gandolfini's son. He's going to be in the show. We don't know what role, but they say it might be a sizable one. I don't know if that means he's going to be playing like teenage Wilson Fisk, or if he's going to be a character in the modern day. Again, we already mentioned Bernthal. It looks like we're doing Mayor Fisk. It looks like Kingpin's going to be running for mayor, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's been a recent story in the comics, so that's going to be kind of interesting if they do that. We saw Precinct 15, so this gives hope for Foggy and Karen, because if Brett Mahoney's in this show, how the heck are Foggy and Karen not in this show?
Right.
And lastly, most importantly, the showrunner of this show has said, I don't care what anyone says, this is season 4 of Daredevil. That's the way he's viewing it. So that's him saying, I don't care what Disney says or anything, I'm treating this as season 4, which gives a lot of hope to what I'm thinking, which basically says the time is like 7 or so years has passed between season 3 of Daredevil and this season. But hopefully that just means we're dumped into a new status quo. It means like everything did count. At the very least on how it's going to play. So we'll see how that goes. At the very least, this guy's directing and making this show as if it were season 4, which does instill confidence. And the word is this show has been already approved for season 2. But I don't know how official that is. So that's kind of our.
That's another thing where it's like I feel like that's a little weird. Just again, I'm kind of still adjusting to the whole 18 episodes thing, like because Dragon, like normal TV, just doesn't work like that anymore. Like as far as like that long for a season, so I don't know. So to have that long of a season and also like a season 2, like I feel like that's almost like counting your chickens before they hatch in a way.
Well, so there is a question of like runtime on this show, if it's going to be a half-hour thing or not. Well, She-Hulk kind of had to be half an hour. This is not necessarily the case, so it is a question, but there might be.
I would much rather have 9 half-hour episodes than 9 hour-long episodes than 18 half-hour episodes.
What if there was like a part 1, part 2 component to each to the episodes? Will that still?
Well, I mean, you were the one that didn't really care for Andor that much, and Andor kind of had that a little bit. So
I have a feeling we're not going to spend a lot of time on Mon Mothma's kind of boring marriage. She's in a loveless marriage.
Oh my god.
She's bored riding around in a fancy car.
All right.
Okay, I mean, it took it like Andor had great stuff in it, but it took us forever getting there. At the very least, we might have Foggy, charming us for, who knows. Regardless, the season 2 thing does make me wonder, and this might be bumpy territory. If for some reason they kind of have Matt Murdock in a place in which we don't have Foggy and Karen, but we have them in season 2, but we're gonna have to wait to find out if that's the case. That's gonna be really annoying.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right, okay, we have a comment.
Yeah, Koski, I will read it. Although Dragon is the Always Sunny fan in the room, so he's going to have to point out these references. A starter timeline. This is a finisher timeline. A timeline for the gods. The golden god. I have no idea if I'm saying that right.
Okay, this a golden god.
A golden god.
So yeah, Glenn Howerton, he plays Dennis on the show, and he calls himself a golden god. So basically, if he were playing Kang, he'd be talking about timeline and going on kind of a Glenn Howerton-esque rant about timelines. That's the gig.
Okay, Koski, I really like this point that you're making right now. He says, I'm cautiously optimistic, but it feels like they went the opposite direction. Like, oh, you don't like six episodes? Well, here's 18. I'm like, guys, 10 to 12 hour long is right there. I wholly agree, Koski. Although then Marvel's also, but like, I can imagine Marvel's like, well, we tried that with Netflix and people bitched about that too. And I'm like, yeah, that's because not every season has to be 12 episodes or 13 episodes anyways.
You know, it's funny. If it were one more episode, it would literally be, here's your... Actually, it helps. Never mind. Wait, 6... Never mind, it doesn't work at all. Forget the point I was about to make. I was going to say they can literally combine the Netflix runtime and the Disney Plus runtime.
I mean, practically, yes.
I mean, honestly, my hope... Okay, last thing, then we'll move on. A part of me hopes that maybe it could be a strategic thing, as in we have certain episodes that are kind of cool down periods that are kind of like a half-hour setup episode, then we have like the meat and potatoes. And then maybe that would justify...
I could see that.
That would justify the runtime. Like, for example, like what if there was like them learning from... Just given the fact that Punisher's in this show... Punisher is could be an added-on plot line, or maybe it could be a guest spot, could be an added-on plot line, and we saw what happened.
I mean, with 18 episodes, I would hope that the Punisher would be like a whole separate, like, I could honestly picture the Punisher being like a whole half of the show, kind of like the Mike stuff is half of Better Call Saul. You know what I mean?
Well, yes, and that brings... This is what I'm saying. So, it's the fact that we saw what happened in Daredevil Season 2, where we did not have enough time for the hand stuff. And it does bring about, again, if they're playing all the really awesome cards that we have not seen in the MCU really close to their chests, is in like, what if secretly, in addition to Foggy and Karen, we're also holding out and like we have man, because the word is like, Kristen Ritter might appear, even though it's like really downplaying it. Like, what if we brought back the Defenders and in the story, and in the Kingpin running for mayor story that has happened recently, there was like a big neighborhood coming together to stop the Kingpin sort of element. So it's not...
I mean, if they just went full blown, like, let's bring everyone from the Netflix verse back, then yeah, I could see them taking 18 episodes to really build that up and it being satisfying, sure.
Exactly. So that's it. We'll see.
Everyone except for Iron Fist. Iron Fist, if there's a season 2, then sure, we'll let you have one Heroes for Hire episode.
Let them have Heroes for... Just don't give them Iron Fist. Just give them Heroes for Hire. Let Heroes for Hire be a flourishing business, Tiki. Just let them be.
God.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Dragon, I feel like we kind of need to speed round some of this news.
Well, you wanted to dig your heels in a lot of the Daredevil. Let's get...
All right. Let's go. So Eli Roth doing a Thanksgiving movie. We can totally speed round this. Dragon, did you look up the original trailer, like the fake trailer?
No, not the fake one. I didn't see the fake one.
It's a lot of fun. It's one of the more memorable. It's based on a fake trailer from the Grindhouse movie that everyone kind of forgets about. That's where Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof came from. It's also Machete was also a fake trailer within that movie. So I'm excited about this, but at the same time, Eli Roth, Dragon, let's just say it's kind of appropriate that you put this close to the bad news, because that guy is a little bit like, as far as just being very hit or miss as a director, he's most of the time miss. I'm not going to lie to you. I actually think his short form stuff is a little better. Like, that trailer is probably the best thing he's ever directed. But I'm definitely willing to give this a chance. It's a fun concept at the very least. Okay. Scott Pilgrim. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're doing anime on Scott Pilgrim, I assume in the manga style, most likely. And yeah, they have like quite the voice cast announced for it. Like essentially everyone from the movie's coming back. It sounds like, because you got Michael Cera, you got Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Chris Evans is coming back, Kieran Culkin, like the whole. Seems like the whole
Kieran
gang.
Culkin is like the most important voice actor in that.
Yep, I'm looking at
You
it
need
now.
him before you need Michael Cera.
But yeah, it seems like all the X's. It seems like everyone's gonna be back in this thing. They got Anna Kendrick, they got Brandon Routh, like the whole litany.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this. I'm just like, with all the X's coming back, I'm not sure how that's going to work as far as the plot goes.
Well, I don't know if it's a retelling or if it's like a sequel.
I hope it's not a retelling. That's the thing. I hope they just like, because there's a lot. First of all, I don't know. Like, maybe if it's a retelling, then what I hope they do is I hope they kind of stick more to the actual graphic novels, where essentially it took place over a way longer period of time, like over the course of a few years instead of a few weeks, like in the movie.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's certainly more than enough material in the graphic novels to stretch it out. If they are just doing an adaptation, I'd be into that.
I mean, my assumption is that they're doing the adaptation of the graphic novel, just probably more like faithfully, kind of going. Yeah. Anyway. Okay.
Let's see.
Well,
Go ahead.
Here's some fun news. So, folks, there's been some Deadpool 3 news. One, Dupinder and Blind Al are indeed coming back, which is a win. I love me some Dupinder, and who doesn't love Blind Al? What we need is an announcement for Bob the Goon, but then again, this next casting could very well be it for all we know.
Oh my God.
So, they have announced, so they've cast someone special. They've cast Matthew McFadden. It is okay. Matthew McFadden, who Tiki and I enjoy quite a great deal on the show Succession, which is ending this month.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say for me, between him and Greg, it's like my favorite element of the show. And I don't know. I'm just like, it's hard for me to think about this casting and not just think of Tom trying to fuck with Deadpool and then Deadpool just letting him have it.
So I joked about the Bob thing, but then it kind of dawned on me, like,
Hey Deadpool, we're the Disgusting Brothers. Oh, I'll show you, Disgusting Tom. Don't you worry.
He's just getting really nervous. Like, oh, Shiv, save me.
Oh, God.
Greg. Oh, but seriously, I do wonder, though, because, Bob was there. I think we did have an actor who could come back for Bob, but I highly doubt if we're going to, just given where we're at now, I think they're going to probably, if they do ever do Bob, it's kind of the whole point of, like, a part of the whole point of, like, Deadpool officially in the MCU is, like, you could have an actual Hydra agent there, so it means we could full on do Bob, Agent of Hydra, which I think McFadden as Bob might actually be really good. There's I had one thought. I always thought Deadpool 2's bad guy was going to be Mr. Sinister. Now, obviously, Bryan Cranston said he wants to play Mr. Sinister. I'm not buying, and no way am I saying I don't want Bryan Cranston.
Maybe that's his role in Asteroid City.
Okay, but seriously, though, I mean, I love everything Cranston does. But let's just say, if Cranston were to be Mr. Sinister, that'd be great. And putting him in a Deadpool movie and having him act against Ryan Reynolds, that'd be a lot of fun. But I gotta admit, if for some reason Cranston fell through, McFadden, I could see him as a good Mr. Sinister. To be frank, I think he could be because Mr. Sinister's kind of like he kind of exudes a lot of Tom, only be more serious. He basically kind of because you ever look at Mr. Sinister, he does have kind of like that squared off kind of head and everything. He's rather tall.
Right. Yeah.
I could see him doing good with that role, but I could also see him as Bob. So McFadden, I'm interested to see who McFadden's going to play.
All right, so Dragon, Amazon has rescued the Caped Crusaders animated show.
That's the headline I like. Network saves Batman. I love it.
Right, it's picked up for 2 seasons. I don't know much about this outside of just it's being done by a lot of the Batman the Animated Series people, right?
Everyone but Dini, which is like the one like
that sucks. Yeah.
However,
right.
which again, remember last time we did that, it was disastrous. The last time we did, like in a Return of the Batman the Animated Series without Dini, but we had Bruce Timm. However, the good news is this time around, Bruce Timm does have a lot of really good help. That is, unfortunately, is not Paul Dini. We have, again, we have Matt Reeves involved. We got Abrams is probably very loosey-goosey involved in the
Oh
Man.
God, we don't want Abrams to be too involved. Come on,
I just think I think he's like a name producer. I don't think he's really
right.
I think he's just saying, yeah. Anyway, okay.
Hey
Importantly,
JJ, should we do this? Yeah.
Yeah, Ed Brubaker. Now, the Dini-esque person that we do have involved in this is Ed Brubaker. He's a really good writer. He's the guy who created Winter Soldier, for Captain America. That's so Ed Brubaker's involved. So that's I forget if Rucka's involved in this as well, but I'm pretty sure Brubaker is. I got to check, but let's just say we have comic talent on this as well. It's looking good. I speculate it's going to be basically. It's going to look like Batman the Animated Series, but with the Bruce Timm art style, but it's going to be like the one thing we never saw in Batman the Animated Series, at least extensively, which is like the year one era of Batman in animation,
Sure.
which as a whole series could be really good. Anyways, the other news that came along with this is My Adventures with Superman. It's got picked up by Adult Swim.
Yeah, and to me, Dragon, this kind of like bleeds into like at this point, did they just want to rebrand Cartoon Network into Adult Swim at this point? Because I feel like the network would probably be for the best to do that. Like, there's really not a lot of life left in Cartoon Network.
I mean, sadly, that's true because you think about it, like Steven Universe ended. I'm trying to think what else they have going on for them right now.
They've got fucking Teen Titans Go.
Yeah, you're right. Yep, I agree with you. It's Adult Swim.
I've heard that Craig of the Creek is good. I've heard good things about Craig of the Creek, to be fair.
I honestly think it's to a point where I can't even tell if anything's like still like being made.
Right. That's the thing.
It all feels like reruns. There's no events anymore. Honestly, you know what? And this is more Toonami. Toonami is still like the main draw, so it's kind of in the adult. It's like the weekend Adult Swim kind of thing. It's like Toonami on the weekends is like you get Tom like presenting like the Scooby Doo movies and everything. It's like there's at least some fun there. It's like again, it's the rerun channel. But so the fact this is rumored to be airing at 7, so I think you're kind of we're kind of mixing things.
I mean, that used to be like prime time, like that used to be when they would air like new Adventure Time episodes. You know what I mean?
Right. So that's what I'm saying to you. I think maybe less Adult Swim, more of like what if we went full Toonami with Cartoon Network and the basic Toonami?
I feel like that'd be a good rebranding as well.
That's the thing. Like you had Toonami, which then late at night would blend into Adult Swim.
I could see that. I
think that's the kind of.
At any rate, I just think Cartoon Network is just a dead brand at this point. I hate to say that, but I really think it's true.
Yeah. Regardless, so this is My Adventures with Superman show. It looks good. The Adult Swim thing has people worrying it's going to be like a somewhat adult. I think it's just more of like Superman in kind of like a modern context. I think that's mainly the idea, but could be. The art style looks kind of fun, so we'll see.
All right, and finally, let's run through some trailers. Asteroid City, Dragon. This is my number one most anticipated of the year.
That's kind of a bold prediction. You sure about that?
I know it's a bold prediction, especially because my predictions usually turn out to be shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for now, I'm stoked for this, man. I really am. There's no other movie that I'm looking forward to more. For me, I feel like this trailer, the exciting thing for me about this is it feels like kind of like the intimacy and sort of like small town vibes that I love about Moonrise Kingdom mixed with the filmmaking ambition of Grand Budapest Hotel. So it's like basically everything I love about Wes Anderson rolled up into one package, and I can't fucking wait. And Tom Hanks, Dragon. Tom Hanks is a grumpy grandpa.
He has been doing that a little frequently lately.
But it's so much better here than A Man Called Otto. Even, like, I will say this. His screen time just in this trailer is more compelling than anything from A Man Called Otto.
It does help that he has a mustache.
Yes.
But I mean, Asteroid City, I'm not a ride or die Wes Anderson guy, but I mean, it seems to embody his style, his style quite nicely. I mean, he almost has kind of like Wes Anderson kind of embodies, from a casting perspective, kind of like he's like Doctor Strange when it comes to casting, because he summons like the whole portal scene at the end of Endgame. Just everyone just kind of just walks out of there, just like like, okay, guys, we're making a movie, portal scene, and they're all just walking through. You got Tom Hanks, You got Defoe, you got Schwartzman, you got Bill Murray. They're all just walking through those portals. It's like,
Pretty
okay,
much.
Wes, what are we doing this time? Well, I'm glad you asked. We're going 50s with it this time. 50s? Yeah, okay. Tom, wear this mustache. You got it, buddy.
Oh my god.
So, I mean, honestly, I might have misread the trailer when I saw it. It may or may not lose me with the whole. I think we have like a very human-looking alien. I mean, it's like we have like a guy who's is he actually an alien or is it? Just
I don't know what's up with that. I will admit, it seems like there's some sort of like maybe like a quarantine thing going on where like the whole town is being taken hostage by the government or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like that's certainly ambitious for Wes. Like I said, that's kind of like the ambition that I'm kind of talking about, where it's like it really seems like this is going to go into some really kind of weird places. Like that's certainly if they are really going the aliens route, then yeah, that has the potential to be corny, absolutely. But I don't know, man. I really think that this and I think one of the things that the trailer isn't really demonstrating that I'm excited for is the fact that I believe it's already been confirmed that the two main characters are the two young love interests in the film, where it's all, I've always wanted to live in outer space. Really? Me too. And that excites me just because he did a similar thing with Moonrise Kingdom, and I adore Moonrise Kingdom. I think he does that kind of young love story really, really well. That kind of like nostalgic kind of, childhood first love thing. So if that's like the anchor for the movie, and the rest of the movie is kind of like all these famous people, and I'm already sold on the Schwartzman and Tom Hanks dynamic as well. I think Schwartzman, being the widowed son-in-law to Tom Hanks, I think that's freaking genius. I love that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited.
Okay.
All right, Renfield. I think Renfield is I feel like every year Nicolas Cage has a movie that is either going to be awesome and super memorable, like
The Unbearable Weight of Massive
Pig.
Talent. Oh, sorry, Pig. Yeah.
And then also this also has the potential to be like The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent.
Oh, come on, really?
Where it's good, but it doesn't necessarily live up to the potential. I'm sorry. It's just that's that movie falls off in the last.
Well, I know, but that was like a dramatic comparison, though, from where you were.
So I just hope this movie's good. I really do. I'm sold on it. I'm definitely gonna go see it for sure. I think Nicholas Hoult looks really fun as well.
Nicholas Holt's a really good actor. He was.
He is.
Yeah, he was considered to play Batman, right?
I've heard that, yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Renfield. I mean, I think it's a great idea for kind of an irreverent take on Dracula. Honestly, the thing that really has me sold is just in this recent trailer, the old black and white Nick Cage footage, which is like him living out his Caligari dreams.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I'd love to watch it, but I wouldn't see it in theaters. I don't think I would. I'm definitely interested in seeing it once it's streaming, for sure. I will say this: I think Aquafina could the Aquafina component.
Oh, she worries me. Yeah,
it's a question. To put it simply, it's a question, folks. It's like
But again, she was super charming in Shang-Chi.
That is true. So again, Aquafina's not a kiss of death, but she's not exactly the life raft all the time.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. So it's the fact that giving Renfield like either it could be a love. I think we're going love interest, but let's just say like a weird platonic friend. Either way, it could work. We're just kind of making her a cop, which she does not really exude that.
Nothing wrong with a platonic friend.
You're right. There's nothing wrong with that's what I'm saying. It could go either way. So it could work, but anyway, it feels like we might have crammed her into like a really good premise of like Renfield, just like. I'm trying to get out of a bad abusive relationship right now. I need AA. But yeah, it's it looks good. I mean, again, Nick Cage looks really good as Dracula, and Renfield. Giving Renfield superpowers with the flies is a little weird, but we'll see where it goes.
All right, and finally, something that's coming out very soon, kind of counter programming to the Mario movie, Paint. And Dragon, we're the kind of freaks where we like both.
Yeah.
What movie are you going to see this weekend? Mario or Paint? Yes.
Probably Mario.
Probably both, honestly. I will probably see Mario twice. Anyways.
Wait, dude. See, I'm going to see them both. I'm going to see Mario twice. It's like, really?
Yeah, that's pretty much what my movie week is going to be like, yes.
Well, no, I'm just saying when you say you're going to see Mario twice, it's like you said, I'm going to see them both, but I'm going to see Mario twice. It's like, there's your both. You're using both viewing opportunities for Mario.
I'm saying my hype level is higher for Mario, and I'm most likely not going to see this twice, but I'm still going to see it.
All right. Anyway, point being, this is so the Paint is really interesting. It seems to me it's like a loophole. It's a loophole for making a Bob Ross movie without having to pay those terrible Kowalski people.
Pretty much, yeah.
I gotta admit, Tiki, I know back in the day you suggested, Will Ferrell,
Will Ferrell,
would be a really good casting choice. But you gotta admit, though, Owen Wilson, that's also perfect casting for a Bob Ross type.
He's got the look down, surprisingly.
He's got the look, but the thing with Owen Wilson, I think you may have glossed over. I think we all may have glossed over is that he's got that soothing voice that is indicative of a Bob Ross.
He does, yeah.
So I can buy it, absolutely. Here's the thing,
this definitely gives me a kidding vibe.
Yeah, for sure. Which believe me, I'm interested in this, but I can only see so many movies in theaters. I would absolutely, if this were streaming, I'd go gaga for watching it, man. I would. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Paint at some point. The one thing that has me concerned in the trailer, though, is the whole the one diversion of him being supplanted by a female painter seems a little odd.
That kind of stuff actually happened within Bob Ross's career. It wasn't a female painter, but there was definitely some rivalries.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know it was like an extensive kind of rivalry thing that would have maybe gotten under that. He was doing a lot of other things that we did see, very much so. But okay, there we go. All right.
Okay, so let's move on to the March 2023 movies. Shazam! Dragon, yeah, I liked this when it came out, honestly. Like, the more I think about it, the more I'm like, it was just okay. I don't think it's bad, but the more I think about it compared to the first movie, I really think the first movie just knocked it out of the park. I think the missing ingredient really was the Billy Batson side, because the first movie you had that great kind of combination of, you had Billy Batson had a legitimately really compelling storyline with trying to find his mother, and in this he's practically not in the movie. I mean, obviously Shazam, like Zachary Levi, Billy Batson is in the movie, but the actual young Billy Batson is practically a cameo, and I feel like that really hurts the movie. There's some fun stuff in there. I think Zachary Levi is kind of like, I feel like very similar for his presence in this movie that I do to Paul Rudd in Quantumania, where it's on some level it's hard to dislike this movie just because the man is so charming and he's really given it his all in that charming department. But yeah, man, this is like very much the definition of just okay for me.
I mean, Fury of the Gods, I liked the movie. That was fun. I thought it was enjoyable, but I absolutely agree with you. It lacked the story strength of the first film, and it was very apparent. It lacked in that department. I mean, frankly, I've said this before. Frankly, I think The Rock kind of crippled the story on this movie because he refused to be in it. Frankly, I mean, I want to be clear that I'm not going to get into the weeds with it all here, but it's not. I don't think ultimately the thing against this movie is that it's not a PC thing or anything, but it's just a. It's just we have filler villains. It's just a filler villain selection.
Totally.
But it's a fun movie. Just we have kind of filler villains in here. It just feels like, we need them to fight somebody and we can't use all the good ones. So the Shazam family in action's a lot of fun. We fix the monster problem of the first movie in our third act. We have like a lot of cool, distinct monsters that are steeped in Greek mythology and stuff, which tracks. it just the plot could have used some trimming or a second draft or something, but it's a good time. So again, I can't say it's it's Yates, but it's fun.
Mhm. Okay. Oh, let me tell you about Inside Dragon. Oh boy.
Tell us about Inside.
Okay, so Inside is quite literally a one-man show starring one Mr. Willem Dafoe, and it's pretty glorious. I'm not gonna lie, like the premise does kind of drag on. So basically, Willem Dafoe is an art thief, and the movie starts with him breaking into this art collector's like swanky high-rise apartment. But then things go awry when the security system gets activated and he gets locked in the apartment, just full, steel door lockdown. And the whole movie is just him like surviving in the apartment, like trying to find ways to get out, trying to survive, rationing the food, rationing the water, kind of coming up with clever ways to get the water. There's also an element of the thermostat keeps going from super like freezing cold to, like 90, 100-degree hot. And man, I tell you, it's effective. It really is. It's a fun little thriller. It's nowhere near as great as something like 127 Hours as far as, like the singular location goes. I do think it gets in its own head about like, oh, this is so philosophical about the nature of mankind and art and what art says about us. And it is a little bit repetitive. It's an hour, 45 minutes. I think it could have been an easy like 80 minutes in and out, honestly. But for what it is, man, it is really compelling. And I'm not going to call it Willem Dafoe's best performance by any means, because the Lighthouse exists. But it's up there. It really is.
Some might say the Passion of the Christ, Tiki, but
The Last Temptation.
Sorry, sorry, my bad. Yes, the last. Sorry, an actor just passed who was from that movie. That's what I'm thinking of. But yes, the last Temptation of Christ.
I mean, some might say, yeah. Some might say, he's known for a lot, but I think this movie, it really is. It's basically just Willem doing what he does best, which is losing his mind, like systematically, slowly through the movie, he is just slowly losing his mind. And it's, if you're into that kind of thing, it's a fun watch. It's certainly not going to be one of the best movies of the year or anything. It's probably going to be pretty forgettable as the year goes on. I'm not going to lie. There's not a lot of like memorable filmmaking techniques or anything happening. The actual shots and stuff are pretty static. There's not, honestly, in some ways, it kind of feels like a TV movie, but the performance is there for sure. Like, if the draw is just Willem, he delivers. So I would, if you just want to see Willem Dafoe acting crazy for a little under 2 hours, this is a movie for you. All right. Okay, John Wick, Dragon, tell us about it.
Yes, John Wick Chapter 4. So, yeah, this was this was good, but I don't think it eclipsed Chapter 3. The Parabellum. I don't think it eclipsed where that one was. So overall, obviously nothing's really beaten the original, but because the original had like kind of a charming simplicity to it. It's really funny seeing how the humble beginnings of John Wick is like kind of the inventive action movie to now becoming the franchise it is 10 years later. It's been 10 years, folks. It's crazy. But yeah, so basically, this movie is John Wick seeking a solution for his whole excommunicado high table dilemma that he's been dealing with ever since the end of the second movie.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, this movie it's less revenge than I expected. It's more resolution than revenge, which I mean it was interesting. This movie is asking the big questions about John Wick, despite the character himself just being who he is. It's the less you know about John Wick that makes him compelling. Like we don't learn anything more about John Wick or anything, but it's like you get little snippets as per usual. But it's like we're asking the big fundamental questions about John Wick, like what does he want, that kind of stuff. The action, as always, top tier. But I feel with this movie, and there was like a hint of it in the third movie. I think this movie did suffer from it. Actually, the movie suffers from the problem of how do we top ourselves, which leads to kind of the video game quality. The video game quality I'm referring to is like you have these great set pieces, and sometimes you got to stall getting to them, or basically stretch it out while you're there. As in, like, I'll give you an example. Like I said, John Wick goes to the he's globetrotting as he kind of has been doing in the latter, ever since the second movie onward. He goes to the Osaka Continental, and it's like, okay, so we're gonna John Wick's gonna have a meeting with the guy who basically is the the Japanese version of Winston. He's gonna go up there, and we're gonna go through the rooms and everything, and then of course, like, action breaks out. He's got to go down the rooms. It's like a video game. It's like, well, we go up and we go through all the levels, and we go back down, and we're fighting
that's
people.
pretty much what I was afraid of. I mean, so it's basically like what I don't like, the shooty shoot, fight.
I mean, you know that going into it, though, man. But yeah.
Yeah, I know, but 3 hours of it.
Well, okay. To be fair, though, I mean, look, if it's with the trailers that come with the movie, yes, it's 3 hours, but 3 hours on the dot, though. But yeah, regardless, though, I mean, I agree. That's my gripe with the movie, is that I feel like we obviously could have trimmed it, and there's like a plot line that at the end of the day we probably could have trimmed. Like, we have kind of like we have like a there's John Wick, and then there's the rival. In this case, we threw in a third guy. Third guy doesn't really do a lot. He's cool, but he feels like we want dogs in this movie. So we're gonna have a guy with a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like kind of we're homage. Basically, it was like, hey, we like
Now
Halle
the
Berry.
dogs are the villains.
No. It's like last movie had Halle Berry with dogs that attacked and killed people and stuff. So it's like, hey, we want to do that again. So why not bring back Halle Berry? She wanted too much money, so we're gonna bring back it's the new guy.
Who also likes dogs. Oh my god.
Exactly. So that's what that's what I'm saying. The third one had like this movie just lacks the drama of Parabellum, where Parabellum was like, we saw like the clock strike down, like when he's a wanted man now. Like that was the drama of is he gonna make it? And that's the obvious. I will say this: there is a very memorable moment in the movie that is quite the send off for Lance Reddick. I'll say that much. It's memorable. But that's the overall, man. Look, it's a solid movie. Again, the length and the video game aspect. I mean, it's going to get to you after a while. But again, if you watch it at home, you could fast forward through it always. So you could always do that, if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Because you get the idea. I would say anytime Donnie Yen is his main opponent during the movie. Donnie Yen's great. So, I mean, I'd watch all those action scenes with him. The way he does actions is wonderful. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, as I said, it kind of puts everything in perspective. It was a good watch. It was a satisfying John Wick movie, but not as eye-catching as the third.
All right. Okay, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among the Thieves. This is actually quite good. I really like this a lot. I would actually recommend it for you, Dragon. I really would.
To make fun of the marketing for a second, is this the most Chris Pine of the Chris Pine movies?
It's pretty Chris Pine. Yeah,
that's what I thought. Okay, go on.
The marketing basically sells it as Guardians of the Galaxy with fantasy, and that's pretty much exactly what it is. But that's not a bad thing. It's a good formula, and it works well here. But genuinely, what I really like about this movie is, I think everyone in the cast does a really, really great job. This might be one of Michelle Rodriguez's best performances, just straight up. Hugh Grant is a lot of fun. This is easily, for me, I don't really care for Justice Smith in a lot of things. This is easily the most likable he's been in anything for me. I think he's super likable in this movie. I don't know what it is. He's doing a weird fake British accent and everything, but somehow he's super likable. But also, I really think that the thing that sold me on seeing it was I heard some practical effects, and they do, and they are great creature effects, really, really good. And also, I think, it's just a straight kind of good old-fashioned adventure. It really feels like kind of like an early 2000s movie in a good way, where they would actually take risks with movies like this. And I feel like the action scenes are actually really, really well done. Unlike most action movies nowadays, for me, there's some action set pieces that are real highlights here. Really, really creative, really engaging camera work, really engaging setups.
like I said, the humor works really well. Bradley Cooper has an amazing cameo. Yeah, just a high recommend. I would honestly probably say this is probably the best movie of 2023 for me so far.
Really, you liked it that much?
I mean, the other competition is Cocaine Bear, which is a movie that I still really like, but honestly, like the more I sit on Cocaine Bear, the more I'm like, yeah, it had some real high points, but it had its issues too.
I mean, Cocaine Bear did make it to the Oscars.
It did.
Technically, he did.
Poor Malala, man.
Yeah. I mean, not
fucking with Malala.
Not only was Cocaine Bear at the Oscars, it was bumping arms or at least sniffing Malala.
Oh my god,
that's everyone's got.
I tell you, man, that took some balls on Kimmel's part. I give Kimmel a little bit of credit for fucking with Malala.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, definitely for me. I mean, I'm sure it's not going to be like in the top 10 or anything by the end of the year, but I don't know, it might be. It's honestly really refreshing. It was a really refreshing, good popcorn movie.
Okay.
And yeah, like Chris Pine, I would definitely say this is his best performance so far. I would definitely hear that.
Bradley Cooper's cameo.
Was
he John Peters?
That would be amazing.
I know, right?
No.
That yeah. Was it like a medieval John Peters?
It just cuts away, and the whole movie is revealed to just be John Peters' personal D&D campaign.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is John Peters. John Peters in the '80s playing D&D.
Oh my god!
With Tom Hanks
and Cooper Hoffman. Cooper Hoffman's character from Licorice Pizza is there too, and he's scared out of his mind.
And you have Tom Hanks as his infamous Mazes and Monsters character. Just
oh my god! All right, that's fun. That's fun.
Okay. All right.
But his cameo is very funny though.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, tell us about the movie that I would love to watch, but I can't.
I solved the mystery on this, by the way. Yeah, it sucks, but I solved the mystery on it. Okay. So I'll build to it. Okay. So yeah, folks. This I saw The Doom That Came to Gotham. I'm not going to say it's the most anticipated movie of the year for him, but I was very much looking forward to this. Ever since they announced it, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for this to come out. And, oh my god, the moment's finally here. I would have loved to share my thoughts in depth with you folks, but some things got in the way. So this adapts one of Mignola's other, seminal Elseworld Batman stories, because you had, the Gotham by Gaslight, which I loved, and then you have this. There was another one too that he did, but the point being, those are I don't think that necessarily counts as an Elseworld story. The point is the other Elseworld story. So this is basically Batman meets Lovecraft, and it's set in the 1920s. It blends the Batman mythos with in really creative ways, and Tiki, it's pretty much an out and out horror movie. I think you'll love it.
Nice.
So that's what I'm saying. The best way I can describe it, this movie is like unlike any Batman movie you've ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
It's also someone we love is voicing a character in this movie, and he is perfectly cast.
Fabian?
Well, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god, really?
Yes.
No, it's just a random guess.
Yes. Well, he's in. Remember, he's voiced the character before.
I know he has.
But yeah, so he's in this movie.
Okay.
He's very well cast. Okay, so let's see. So no, he's not the Mad Hatter. Just in case you're wondering, no, he's not the Mad Hatter.
Oh my god.
So here's it. I'm unsure of how this stacks up to the comic. Believe me, I would have liked to have read the comic before this, but they did kind of like an odd marketing thing where they were the comic was very loved when it came out, so it was kind of out of print. So they put it out in graphic novel form for the movie. So I could get it now. I think I'm gonna wait till like a holiday occasion or something, potentially Easter, but we'll see. To get it, but I'm unsure of how it stacks to the comic. Honestly, I'll tell you some of the stuff if we end up talking about. But here's the deal, folks. Unfortunately, you'll notice Tiki and I did not do a full spoiler cast on this because the release is utter BS on this thing. So essentially, essentially, this movie came out in physical, and it was said like physical and digital. It comes out on this day. Lie! It is a lie, folks.
Lies, sir.
Or at the very least, it's a half truth. It's a lawyer lie. Essentially, no. In all seriousness, basically, this thing came out physically on the Blu-ray, which I always get, so I was able to watch it, eagerly anticipating it. And initially they released these things, digitally and for purchase and for rental, and usually it used to be like the digital rental came out way before the DVD came out. The Blu-ray came out.
Yeah, that used to be the case.
Yeah,
yes.
then they just did it on the same day, and now apparently they're trying to space it out for some reason because Warner Brothers is desperate for money. So they basically. So basically, you can only purchase it digitally instead of renting it. And I looked into it, so I think it's like it's sometime this month. I think the 11th. It'll be available for rentals. So I mean, I don't know if we have room for it or not, but ideally, we'd be able to do a full break because I think you really like this. So I think I'd love to talk about this. But again, we'll see if the stars align on that. Regardless, so we'll be coming out for rental, and the reason we didn't cover, folks, we were worried that people would have said like, I'm not gonna buy this thing when it's going to be available for rental later. So we didn't want to talk about something that barely anyone's seen, especially so soon after it came out. So we want to give people a chance to see it.
Right.
So a lot of bold choices in this. You could always get away with Elseworlds. It's really good. I don't think I like it more than Gotham by Gaslight because it's really. I'm not a Lovecraft guy. I did watch Lovecraft Country. I think this thing captures Lovecraft very well, and I applaud the way it went about it. But just I think if I had to pick between the two Mignola stories, I'm going Gotham by Gaslight. But it was good.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to speed run through these next three because honestly, I don't have a ton to say about any of them. 65. It was fucking awful. It really was. It's honestly the worst movie I've seen in quite some time, probably in multiple years. I really hated it.
But Tiki, it's your love of dinosaurs and Adam Driver.
I know you, and it's the Quiet Place writers.
There you go. It's not the how did it go so wrong?
Well, I'll tell you, Dragon, because the little girl that Adam Driver is protecting in the movie doesn't even speak English, and there's a weird, annoying language barrier for no fucking reason. And so it just, there is absolutely no plot in this movie at all. It's ridiculously boring. There's a weird setup where Adam Driver's not from Earth, but he's not an alien, but he's not from Earth, and they go out of their way to, set that up in the first 10 minutes, even though the planet that he's on is literally just a random lake somewhere. But no, it's definitely not Earth. And there were also random children in my movie theater loudly talking the whole time. I actually went to complain and they still talked. Dragon, it was miserable. It was fucking miserable. I hate this movie. This movie is genuinely one of the worst frickin' movies I've seen, let's say at the very least since post-pandemic. At the very least, it is one of the worst post-pandemic movies I have seen.
Well, apparently Tiki hates foreign children.
Oh my god. I mean, I'm just saying, there was no reason. And also, it's just hey, you like The Last of Us? Well, how about instead of a whole season or long-form video game telling that story, we shit it out in 90 minutes. It's ridiculous. Fuck this movie. All right. A Good Person. This one was also very uncomfortable, and I didn't like it. And Florence Pugh, you need to find a better agent, because this is the second movie in a row that you were good in, but I did not like overall. Yeah. Zach Braff, man. I mean, that dude is just kind of this feels exactly like Garden State, Dragon. I mean, Zach Braff sure has a lot to say about prescription pills and why they're bad, and the whole movie is basically that. I don't like it. I really don't. It was boring. It was long. It was depressing. It was also in some ways kind of cringe. Morgan Freeman did a good job. Morgan Freeman arguably even better than Florence Pugh.
So that's the frustrating thing about this movie. 2 good performances, but just the whole movie was just prescription pills bad. The movie. I really did not like it. All right. Koski says Tiki hates foreign children. Hey, man, no need to bring foreigners into this. He just hates children and wish them.
Well, he said the language barrier thing, ergo foreign children. But you're right. I think he hates all children. So there you
go. I mean, you're not entirely wrong. All right. And finally, the one movie of these 3 that has any sort of substance whatsoever. Moving on. Dragon, this has actually a really good premise. Jane Fonda and oh god damn it, who's the other one? Shit. Oh, I'm blanking on her name, but Jane Fonda wants to get revenge on Malcolm McDowell because Malcolm McDowell essentially sexually abused her and Malcolm McDowell is her best friend's husband, and her best friend is now dead. And she never got a chance to like confront him about what he did in the past. And so now she's going to. And Dragon, that sounds depressing, but this is actually a pretty dark comedy. And I really, really enjoyed that. I don't know. This one is like, it's not great at all, but it's Lily Tomlin. Lily Tomlin's.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, she's fantastic as well. She's always good in whatever she does. I really like her. But Dragon, this is a dark comedy about revenge. And Malcolm McDowell is the perfect person to kind of play that role. And it's a lean, mean 80 minutes. It's not even 90 minutes. It's 80 minutes. And I actually really appreciate that. So it's super unmemorable. It's basically a TV movie as far as the actual film quality goes. But I had a good time with it. I'm not going to lie. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. This, unlike the other 2 movies that I talked about, this didn't make me hate being in the movie theater. All right. Okay. Now, Dragon, let's transition into some TV.
Okay, I guess the place to start.
Agent Elvis. All right, Dragon, I'm not going to lie. This really didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I understand. I have an idea as to why, but go on.
Well, first of all, I think Matthew McConaughey is just like a little miscast. Like, I think his voice is honestly it's just McConaughey doing McConaughey the whole time. And maybe we were just spoiled by the Austin Butler performance, but like,
look, let's be honest. When they just had the poster for the show, we were all hoping Austin Butler was going to be doing the voice. But
I mean, like, I in no way, shape, or form ever bought him as Elvis, like his inflections or anything.
Inflections.
Sorry. Like, stylistically, I think this show has its moments. And there's a couple decent bits of role building here and there. But, yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. It really is. Well, I'm curious what you think, because you were pretty hyped on it.
Yeah, okay, so this is the Netflix show that was created by Priscilla Presley, believe it or not. Priscilla Presley, John Eddy, and Mike Arnold. I believe Mike Arnold's the main animation guy on this, and then we have like 2 music. John Eddy's, I think he's like a music guy. Obviously, Priscilla Presley, the widower. So,
anyway. I'm actually surprised she's still alive.
No, I mean she was in the Naked Gun movies. I mean she's been keeping her. Obviously, her daughter passed, which is sad, but, anyway. But yeah, so this is inspired by Elvis's undercover agent hopes, from the famous Elvis Nixon thing, which is why he's mainly dressed in the black outfit a lot. But yeah, this is so apparently the whole reason Priscilla Presley was like on board for this and had involvement in this was that it was the fact that Elvis. We kind of seen a bit of this, especially in the Elvis movies, that he always did want to be perceived as kind of like a superhero, kind of like a Captain Marvel or Captain Marvel Jr. or Shazam, whatever.
And that side of it is like the only side that actually works when the show does take the time for him to be, reflective about his career and his life.
I agree. Yeah.
But those moments are like few and far between, unfortunately.
So this brings me to how I feel about the show. So yeah, so this is obviously something that is very much like the people. Everyone who knows Elvis says that he did have kind of a crazy sense of humor at times, and that they say this of all the projects that have been pitched to Elvis in terms of like a parody or something like that. This is one that they know for a fact that he'd love, at least in concept. Whether or not the end result or not, but the point being, he would love this sort of thing.
Mhm.
The show to me, when I see it, it's like this show is insane. Obviously, it's not a 1-to-1 what if of like what if Elvis legitimately was like the agent at large and what would happen, but they give like a little spy prowess now and again. It's they push the envelope. It's I think it's entertaining, but again, not as I was hoping, made for something just a hair more 1-for-1, just a hair more, you know.
Mhm.
I think the art style, the aesthetic, I think that looks great. I think they captured the look of him really well. I like it has kind of this very 70s kind of look to it.
I like the look. I think some of the animation is a little stiff
well, I mean,
in places.
I think that's just the only way you can animate that art style, though. I think that's why it's
Right,
stiff in
right.
places. Now, as far as McConaughey goes, I mean, I really honestly I dig how he plays this Elvis, but kind of in the way that I dig how Michael Shannon played Elvis in Elvis and Nixon. In terms of it's not like an impression of Elvis. It's him
Yeah,
playing
but I
kind of like
mean, like for me, like I said, it's just kind of McConaughey doing McConaughey. Like Michael Shannon wasn't just speaking in the way that Michael Shannon speaks. You know what I mean?
well, that's true, but I would say this. I would say in the moments that you liked, it does feel like he's conveying kind of the frustrations and kind of the intimate moments of Elvis that did, I think, sound good in the McConaughey thing. But
Uh-huh.
you're right, when he's just like yelling at Scatter the chimp, it's like, yeah, it's kind of just McConaughey in an Elvis costume.
That is one element that did feel like genuinely like something Elvis would like is Scatter the Chimp.
So I know that's the thing. Elvis, the Scatter the chimp was real, by the way.
Really?
Not obviously he wasn't.
I mean, obviously not to this extent.
He
Obviously,
wasn't cocaine fueled and shooting people. But, Elvis briefly he did buy Scatter the chimp. Yes.
Oh man, that's crazy.
So that's what I'm saying, Tiki. This show has a lot of authentic Elvis stuff in it, but obviously skewed and kind of taken to the nth degree in terms of how we can exaggerate it. So the big issue, so I think, so it's again the McConaughey thing. I could get on board with because when we did have him open up and do like plus they had him singing actually as Elvis, not McConaughey singing the Elvis song. So I think in that way there's kind of a happy medium. But again, obviously there was disappointment that it wasn't Austin Butler, but I knew that going into it once we got the trailer. I'll tell you my biggest issue I have with the show is the Cece character. She frustrates me because
Oh yeah. Oh, big time, big time.
here's why I don't. It doesn't bother me that we have like him paired with somebody who is not an Elvis fan. That's kind of funny. What bothers me is the fact that there's no arc with her. It's like she's just too cynical and like there's no arc. I'm not saying she has to come around liking the music, but it's like she's just really mean to him all the time. It's just really. It's like there's no like respect. There's no like real growth there. That like there's no like man, this guy really is awesome. He's really helping out in the missions and stuff. Like we don't really have that growth. And that really bothered me. It really that kind of took me out of like overall like what we're doing and all the fun I was having. He's like, hey, we're having great fun with Elvis, and then there's CC bringing down the mood and insulting the man.
Yeah.
The whole celebrity spy things. That's kind of funny that the celebrity villains runner like Robert Goulet. I was laughing my head off.
I will admit, Howard Hughes fucking lost me, dude. I almost gave up when we got to Howard Hughes.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of how that was.
Okay, how did you feel about Charles? How'd you feel about Charles Manson?
I mean, also not great. I don't know.
But that's what I'm saying. The show is like it's like I like aspects of the show.
I like Kubrick. I like how they handled Kubrick. So it's.
So this is what I'm saying. The show
There's also Timothy Leary. Like that episode is probably the best episode for my money. Of course, I love the drug trip episode. What else is new?
So this is what I'm saying. So the show is a mixed bag in terms of I like a lot of the stuff that's in it, but they're going insane and insane for better or for worse. I'm sure there's an audience who is gonna love eat up the insane, like the way we're just pushing the envelope with stuff and just going full on stuff. But I don't think it was necessary all the time, and I myself would not have done it. But here's what I'm talking about. The stuff I loved was like Elvis in the space run. The fact that Elvis wanted to go to space and having him do the moon landing, then ending on like him actually in. I thought that was beautiful. And that was like indicative of the man. And I love the real. We used the real music when we did like I used my favorite Elvis song with the whole "If He Can Dream" song. The thing that I really was touched by was the relationship with Priscilla, and seeing he really loved his wife despite all.
No, that was a really good dynamic that they had for sure.
And seeing
probably the only thing that this show has over the Elvis movie.
Yeah, and seeing the struggle in the relationship there, the fact that Elvis is gone a lot for ridiculous reasons in this case, but he is gone a lot, and that kind of puts a strain on the marriage, and I feel bad for him. We have a cliffhanger for season 2, assuming there is a season 2, which I hope so, just because there is that cliffhanger. Because I'll tell you my theory is. My theory is they're gonna do stuff with Elvis's twin next season.
I could see that.
Yeah, I believe I forget if Jesse was the twin's name or not, but yeah. Anyway, okay, lastly, and there's one thing that really did bother me with the show, though. I have one major complaint, at least for me. I think the most cynical thing they did in the show that really kind of broke my heart, given that's the whole basis for the show. I did find the Nixon episode kind of heartbreaking because obviously I love that whole Elvis Nixon. Like there was a little bit of a friendship there and unconventional. Like oh man,
right.
You know, it was like the one like shining moment for Nixon. You know, it was like he came around Elvis guy. And then we have the episode where we have the scene, and then we because they're blending periods of time, like after Elvis is when he started putting all the recorders in the White House. And then the idea that we heard all the really not so good stuff that Nixon said, and that really ticked off Elvis. So that's what I'm saying. Like, oh man, we soured like the genesis of the show. That really bothered me. Hurt my feelings. Okay.
All right. I think we can kind of speed round through these next 2 docs just because they're so dark. I don't really want to like spend too much time on them.
Well, definitely the next one, yeah, but yeah.
MH373, the plane that disappeared. Ironically enough, Dragon, out of the 2 of them, this is the one that made me more uncomfortable, even though the story itself is a little less like brutal and more mysterious. But I tell you, that footage that they play of like the family members in that one room, like the day after the plane disappears, and they're all like just sobbing their eyes out, man. It's like that was like there is some hard to watch stuff in here. And honestly, I don't know. I don't quite know how I feel about this. Just because like the actual case is pretty inconclusive, whereas with Waco obviously has a conclusive ending. So this for me felt just a little bit more exploitive.
I mean, it's the weirdest thing. See, the whole Malaysian Airlines thing. You have a show like Manifest, which I'm pretty sure is taking direct inspiration from the whole missing plane and everything, which only Manifest answers like, okay, well, they came back 5 years later and we don't know why. Which is kind of like it's kind of like that mixed with a little bit of Endgame in there for everyone returning from the blip. So it's always going to be on the minds, and I think still it's in the kind of the cultural consciousness. I like the episode structure. It's kind of like that DB Cooper the documentary series they did on Netflix. We set up the event and then the mishandling of how the news broke, and then the theories and honestly, I think that here's the tricky thing with this show for me is that you're always falling into a trap with something like a DB Cooper thing or this, where it's the fact that anytime you there's always a risk when you tell a story without an ending. The next thing we have has an ending. This does not. And because of that, you're always going to be, it feels like you went through all this and it's sad, it's heartbreak, but it feels like, and there's still.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. That at the end of the day, my ultimate kind of takeaway with this is that it basically just kind of felt like misery porn.
That's kind of a crass way of putting it, but okay.
I mean, that's the same term I use for All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah, let's talk about Waco, American Apocalypse.
Yeah, I was much more engaged with this one.
Right?
I really was.
Yeah, me too.
I think, like, I still kind of question if, like, it was basically a 3-hour documentary. I kind of question, like, But honestly, Dragon, the reason why I question that is because genuinely, if this was just a movie, this would probably be the documentary that we hope gets into Best Documentary, but inevitably doesn't just because you and I like it. So I think that, first of all, like we said, there's a big difference between, like, with the Malaysia Airlines documentary, it really felt like there was an element to me of, like, why are you even telling this story now when it's so inconclusive? This has an obvious ending, and it's also very relevant to the nature of what is happening in our country right now, where it literally feels like there's weekly mass shootings. And I thought that the interview subjects were freaking great. Like, the one woman who basically still was in the cult mindset, Dragon, you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, you mean the woman, right?
Yeah, the woman who, I believe she's the one who gave up her son.
Yeah, it was her son or her daughter, but yeah, I know who you're talking about, though. I know who you're talking about, yeah.
Like, to have people there, like, years on who are still kind of, like, in the cult mentality, I mean, that is compelling true life shit that you just can't make up, you know?
Yeah.
So I really thought this was presented really well, really tastefully. I, like, unlike the Malaysia Airlines thing, there wasn't any period where I felt like we were just kind of watching other people's misery for Netflix revenue. Like, I felt like this actually had something to say.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. There's only one other time I never watched it. There was only one other Waco documentary. I never. I was something on Amazon that I always meant to look into, but I never did. And this thing, when they announced this thing, it's like, oh my god, finally! This is I'm gonna give this a shot. It looks like the way the trailer was gonna hype me up for, like, there's gonna be a well told story here in terms of how we're gonna disseminate the information. So I mean, I never went into the weeds with the full Waco. I've always heard Waco. I've heard, like, Bruce Campbell mention, like, make a joke when someone says, "I'm from Waco." Oh, Waco, watch out for this guy. I've always wondered what the big thing was at Waco. I always heard it was, like, basically kind of like a war zone in kind of like a small community of sorts. But yeah, this is the first proper doc on the event that uses the footage. It's the first one that uses the released footage. It's I only have one. I only have two gripes with this. One of them is the one you just mentioned, which is, like, it feels like it could have been a movie, like a 3 hour, 2 hour, 45 minute movie.
Yeah.
You know, which again, I like the story so much, it doesn't matter. But you're right, though. Could be nominated. It was really that good. But the main thing that bugs me, I wonder if you have this issue. I appreciate that we just jump right into things from the get go, but it feels like a little more context might have been nice. Just like a little more dedication to the why, just up front, just a little bit. Like, not a whole lot of time, but it feels like we just kind of jump right into it, doesn't it?
A little bit, but I also don't really mind that because it kind of gives
refreshing. It's just kind of
urgency.
Yeah,
like we're right at the inciting incident, basically right from the start.
Yeah, I guess just knowing about the guy who's behind the cult thing is what I was kind of looking forward to getting, like, a little hair more about.
Yeah, but I mean, you get to know the guy as the thing goes on, though, and how bad he is.
I think you're ultimately right about that. So because of that, I think it's a small quibbles ultimately. Anyway, but yeah, so basically about just the whole hostage crisis was so ridiculously mishandled. And seeing him, like, doing, like, the prison thing where they're, like, playing they're playing the music for, like, sleep deprivation to get them to give in, knowing they're hostages there who are being put through this. That's horrible.
Yeah, because let's make cult members who are mentally unstable even more mentally unstable. That's a great idea.
Yeah, we literally call that out, and I love that. It's just, but yeah. So I love that we hype up just it just hypes up the twisted situation with the children and everything, and then just the third act is utterly devastating. What happens in the third of the story? That's where things are so palpable. There's an air of dread in the third episode, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And just the fact that this thing went on for 51 days is crazy. I think that's the reason Waco's went down in history. Is the fact it was like a 51-day hostage situation. There's got progressively worse and
this ultimately ended the worst possible way it possibly could have.
Absolute worst way. And I gotta tell you, not knowing the ins and outs of Waco, I mean, Tiki, I was literally experiencing it for the first time. I figured it was not going to be a good result, but knowing how bad it went, like, oh God, I was like, it was devastating. Is learning what happened, and the fact like, no, they're not coming out. You know, just it's horrible. But I mean, horrible and just in a compelling way.
All right, so light and magic on a much lighter note.
Yeah.
The darkest thing in this series is grumpy George Lucas.
Yep. I mean, seriously, I still love that. I love that ending to the first episode. George isn't happy, and then
Yeah.
I say that's my favorite moment in the entire I guess series. I just love that ending so much.
So this is fantastic. It really is. I'm sorry it took me so long to get to it. I don't know what I was holding off on.
I kept begging you to watch it.
I know. It's really cool. Really awesome footage, you know, like really great to see those models and everything. You know what it makes me yearn for, Dragon?
Kevin Walktel's little model area.
I mean, kind of. It makes me yearn for the original Star Tours.
Yeah.
Because the original Star Tours is literally a ride through those models.
Imagine that is like a mini series. It's the making, the making of Star Tours, and then like literally the whole thing centered around Star Tours. They have the creation, then you have the
Did they? I didn't watch every behind the attractions. Did they have one for Star Tours?
I believe so. I think so, but I'd have to check, Tiki.
They probably did the thing like they did with It's a Small World, where I imagine they probably like roped in all the other Lucasfilm collaborations like Captain EO and Indiana Jones into that episode. But anyways, so yeah, I mean, I really have no notes here. I do wish that there were that there was more kind of like obscure stuff covered. You know what I mean? Because honestly, it does kind of focus a little bit hard on the Lucasfilm side of things. And obviously you want to focus on Lucasfilm, obviously. I'm just saying, like, the intro kind of had me a little bit more excited where it's like, oh, okay, maybe we're going to go into, like, stuff that Disney doesn't own. And no, not really. Not really. But it's still very good. It's really cool to see the kind of evolution and these sort of unsung heroes that you've never really heard of, but really had their fingerprints literally all over those movies. So, yeah, great watch.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, Your Honor Season 2.
Yep.
So it goes without saying, Tiki, especially since you've seen the first season, you really should watch Your Honor Season 2. Yeah, this is the so basically the way this works. This is the finale of a two-season story. So it's like this is the ending. There's no more coming. This is the full on. I think I think the original is like a Korean thing that we then adapted stateside here. So I believe that also was a 2-season story. I believe so. Anyway. Yeah, the theme of this season is grief after the tragedy that basically the payoff to all the Telltale kind of game choices that were in the first season, which the first season is the Telltale season, which he will remember this, you will remember that, and we're going to see how it all domino effects and leads to utter tragedy for Bryan Cranston. So that's the thing. Season 2, as usual, Cranston and Strulberg they amaze in this season, man. They're great. And they're given a very interesting.
This is probably Cranston's best post-Breaking Bad role from what I've seen.
Yeah, it's really good. They're given a very interesting conflict. I don't want to spoil for you. This season, these two have they're kind of revolving around each other reluctantly, and they kind of have no choice. The best way I could describe season 2 in a weird way, it's kind of like, what if you had a whole season that essentially was Granite State from Breaking Bad?
Uh-huh.
That's kind of what season 2 feels like. And even, appropriate enough, there is an Albuquerque-verse alumni in this season. They pulled an Albuquerque-verse actor for this season. Yeah. Let's see. So it's the aftermath of the tragic end of season 1. Rosie Perez, essentially, she's an FBI. I believe she's like an FBI agent or something. She's trying to. Sorry, I'm trying to remember if it's like FBI or she works for like the state attorney's office, but I think the point being she's trying to bring down the crime family. She's trying to bring down the Baxter family and needs the judge, the ex-judge, to do so. And she's forcing him to help her, and let's just say things are going to get crazy and tense. Again, tension's always the thing in Your Honor, and it just gets ratcheted up even more. Loyalties are put to the test. One of the best aspects of season 2, and then we'll move on, is Michael Desiato and Fia, the daughter of the mobster, Strolberg's daughter. They have a wonderful dynamic. It's like the MVP of the season, man. It's like it's really engrossing, and it goes to really interesting places. And it's again, she really shined this season too. Fia was always kind of in the background last season. She takes center stage here in many scenes. So she's good. So again, season 2. It was great. I don't know how you're going to feel about the ending. Some people are. I think it's solid ending. No one's really complained about it, but we'll see. So hopefully, just watch it.
Great, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so The Last of Us season 1. Man, this is almost frustrating because I love the first half of this season. I really, really do. I think it's like I feel like the first few episodes of this season, maybe all the way up until like episode 5-ish. Yeah, episode 5, I would say. Probably some of the best zombie apocalypse stuff we've ever gotten. And that's not even counting like it being one of the great video game adaptations. But unfortunately, I do feel like in the second half of the season, the infected basically drop off, Dragon. And the infected are really well handled in the first half of the season. They're built up really well. They're very scary. There's some really effective, horrifying imagery in here with the infected. There's an action set piece in episode 5, at the end of episode 5, that's legitimately like one of the best action set pieces I've ever seen in an HBO show. But then after that, the series just takes, and it's all good stuff, but it's a lot slower paced. It's a lot more methodical, and there's hardly any actual like action in it. And I know that that's kind of like, I'm the guy who's always complaining that everything's always fight. But like, I feel like this show kind of took the whole, like, it's all about the characters, man. Like, I feel like they took it too literally because it does kind of drop off a little bit. Like, there's a few things that the show does in the first half of the season that drop off that I find frustrating. One of them is the fact that in the first 2 or 3 episodes, we get these like super compelling cold opens that have nothing to do with the game, but kind of like set the stage for the actual infection. So episode 1, we have a cold open where it's like a British talk show in the 1960s. And there's like this doctor guy talking about the fungi infection and talking about how feasible it would be. And if it happened, how quickly humanity would just go down the drain. It's a really kind of chilling way to kind of set the stage. Then episode 2, we have a kind of a cold open that has the perspective of a fungi expert who is brought in to examine the basically patient 0 and kind of like what's going down with, when the infection is just starting to take hold. And then they just drop that. And I thought that was such a shame because I was stoked. I was like, every episode should have this kind of cold open to flesh out the world, flesh out what happened, flesh out the, the actual apocalypse of it all. And it just drops. Like, at a certain point, they just don't even have cold opens at all. It's just like, kind of like that Breaking Bad season 4 thing I don't like, Dragon, where it's like, and we're picking up exactly where we left off. And I hate that, man, because like those first few episodes were so powerful and so artistic with those cold opens. And also I feel like the more the series went on, the less bold risks they were taking with adapting the game. It basically went from like, oh man, like this still feels inherently like The Last of Us, but they're doing some things really different, and it's really interesting to like genuinely Dragon. The last 3 episodes basically feel like you're basically just watching the cutscenes, and that's really disappointing too. I feel like the finale really suffers from that. The finale is basically just like, yep, and this is the ending of the game that you all were expecting, exactly how it goes down, beat by beat, with no surprises at all. So ultimately, I hate to say it, but I do kind of like The Last of Us did kind of leave me with a little bit of a mixed bag. And I know that's crazy with how much I was hyping it up when it first started. But yeah, unfortunately, I really don't think it stuck to landing as well as it could have. So yeah, unfortunately, a show with a lot of potential, and I really like it. And make no mistake, Pedro Pascal is fantastic in it. Bella Ramsey is fantastic in it. But ultimately, it's a show with a lot of pacing issues, unfortunately. All right. Well, yeah. Oh, shit. That was painful. All right. Tell us about The Consultant.
Yeah, so the Consultant is another show I would really recommend to you. This is apparently adapting a book. I think it's similarly called The Consultant. It's so funny. This show really feels mislabeled to me because everyone says it's a dark comedy, where it's just really just more dark than comedy to me. I mean, I don't really find it like funny ha situations. It was really like anything that is kind of a gag is like, oh no, that's not funny. That's just really sad. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, Christoph Waltz. He's basically this really eccentric consultant who essentially he comes in to save companies after the CEO dies under mysterious circumstance. To ensure the legacy of the company and the success of the company after the CEO has died. Basically, I don't want to get into, I don't want to tell you all the ins and outs of it because I really want you to give this a watch when you can. But I think I forget if it's like half hour each or not. I think it might be. It's like 8 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, basically it's he goes to a company, basically the young Asian CEO who runs like kind of an app video game company, like games on your phone sort of stuff. And he's killed in a very shocking way at the start of the first episode, the opener of the first episode. And this guy kind of walks in. Basically, he's not technically the boss because he's the consultant and working for the dead guy, but he's calling all the shots and sitting in the dead guy's office.
Mm-hmm.
And basically the whole series, like from the perspective of these two characters, these two employees, Craig and Elaine. And basically, Christoph Waltz's character is Regis Padoff, which we see is like a fake name. So we know nothing about this guy. It's really creepy. And essentially, it's just the guy's kind of, he's insane, but he's in a really controlled way, you know, and the way Waltz plays it. Again, he's got all the charm of Christoph Waltz that he is known for, but is also like this guy's like a numbers man. And he's like firing people left and right. And he's like over the dumbest reasons. And it's like, imagine the most intimidating boss you've ever had.
So Logan Roy?
I mean, I question if he's even worse than Logan Roy.
God! That's pretty bad.
I mean, and you be the Tiki, watch it and be the judge. I mean, he's not. Let me put it this way: he's basically a nicer version of Logan Roy.
Okay.
Like Logan Roy was like, instead when Logan Roy was playing his like little mind games, like he's not like slapping you and making you wrestle for a hot dog. You know, he's not doing that. But it's the next best thing to that. I assure you. These other, you know,
who wants to smell?
Who wants to smell Greg's finger? That was such a good joke, by the way. Anyway. So, yeah, but that thing said, this guy is just basically my analogy was he's like 10 times more intimidating than that season of The Office of Robert California, which the idea is that Jim's met his match with James Spader, who's not taking any of the guy who's not laughing at any of his jokes.
Oh.
Anyway, but yeah, this it's so basically one he's given mind games to one of them and mentorship to the other one of these two employees. So it's really interesting, and he's kind of mentoring one of them and just kind of like destroying the life of the other one systematically. And I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to give away all exactly what happens, but there is an amazingly insane plot twist. And it's a glorious reveal, but they do this. They introduced this plot twist is introduced by a by a Better Call Saul alumni, by Juan Carlos Cantu, the Mr. Varga, Nacho's dad.
Uh-huh.
So he basically introduces this story, and it's this utterly riveting story. And if it's like you're wondering, it can't possibly be true. Like, oh my God, how does this work? Well, let's just say there's evidence to suggest. It's a little ambiguous, but there is evidence to suggest that it's true, and it's insane. So yeah, I mean, it's an intriguing watch, to say the least, Tiki. I think you'd like it, if not just for the waltz of it all. I mean, this thing checks a lot of your boxes, my friend. I think it's worth a watch.
Okay, cool. Alrighty. Let's see. Okay, next up for me, yes, The World According to Jeff Goldblum, Season 2. Dragon, I don't have really any notes for this. It's just more of the same. It's more of what you love. The only thing I have to say is that this was like absolutely the perfect pick-me-up exactly when I needed it. I was having a really bad mental health day, and I just needed something to just, turn on as comfort food. I turned on Disney Plus, and I was like, wait a minute. Is there a season of Goldblum that I have not watched yet? And there was, and it was fucking glorious. And seeing Jeff Goldblum do TikTok dances was the life medicine that I needed.
There's one episode I want to ask you about.
Okay.
The Monsters episode. How was it?
Great. I mean, Dragon, it's all great. It's all exactly, like with The World According to Jeff Goldblum, I feel like if it is a subject that you are interested in, make no mistake, it will be a fun time. It will be an exploration, a deep dive. One of my favorite things is just like how connected he gets with the subjects on a genuine, like, personal level. Like, there's a moment in the first episode, which is all about dancing, where he's kind of watching these it's like an all LGBT dance crew, and he's watching them just kind of like do a dance off, and Dragon, he gets genuinely fucking choked up and emotional because he's like, this is beautiful because you people found like a form of expression beyond the hate and the prejudice that you experience in your real life. And this is how you come together as a community. And right, there's moments like that, like throughout the whole season. Like, honestly, if there's one thing I have to say about season 2 is that I feel like season 2 is a more kind of like genuinely heartwarming season, whereas season 1 was more kind of like, oh, look at quirky Jeff Goldblum. You know what I mean? Like, season 2 genuinely had some like really, really good kind of like restores your faith in humanity type moments. And man, like I said, I needed it, dude. It came to me at the right time. I really needed it. So yeah, good recommendation there. I wish they'd make more.
Okay.
All right. So, Dragon, while I am watching Goldblum have really good human connections with people, you're watching the Chippendales.
Yes, well, so not Chippendale Rescue Rangers.
No.
Welcome to Chippendales. Last month I watched the documentary that A&E did about the Chippendale murders. So this is the limited series that adapts those events on Hulu. It's a Hulu series. And it's basically about the founding of Chippendales and the controversy that ended in murder. It's my God, man, this was really good. I know why it was good.
Is it really? Oh, yeah, wow.
So let me tell you why. So
I'm not gonna lie, Dragon. I totally wrote this off just based on the title.
No, petty. So Bob Siegel, Robert Siegel was the guy behind this. And Robert Siegel, he wrote The Founder, and he was the guy who show ran and wrote and did all the stuff for Pam and Tommy, which is really good.
Mm.
There's definitely a Pam and Tommy vibe to this for sure. But this is like let me tell you this: the big reason to watch this show. This is like the best performance I've ever seen from Kumail Nanjiani. It's amazing what he does. I mean, he was really good in The Big Sick. This is better than The Big Sick. He does an amazing job.
Nice.
What? Yeah.
I said nice.
Yeah. So he's so that's the thing. So basically, I was amazed. But in terms of Nanjiani here, I was amazed. He plays Steve Bannercheck, who essentially is the Indian founder of Chippendales, who is not publicized as the owner. And that's a big story component. He kind of got the shaft in terms of the credit at the end of the day, despite putting on the hard work. So he amazed me by how great. On the whole, I was amazed by how great this was. The building of the company, the evolution of our protagonist with Steve Bannercheck and what Nanjiani did, which you're rooting for this guy from the beginning. And even when he's like in the wrong, it's just you're very much like, oh god, like what you get why he's doing it. You get the hate he has for his partner after what his partner does to him, based on the experience that we've had up to this point. It's kind of indicative of the Seth Rogen thing from Pam and Tommy. You get why people do a bad thing or do something kind of skeezy. So it's a very compelling true crime story. I love the guy, the lady who plays Nanjiani's wife in this, Annalee Ashford. I've seen her in other stuff, so I love they have the most adorable meet cute ever, Chippendales you'll ever see. But yeah, Tiki, I'd recommend this as well. This is really good. It was really compelling. It has like a really good musical theme for the Nanjiani character. It was just really good. It was I don't know if it probably surpassed the docuseries because I was more a documentarist kind of feel. This seemed to be on the money pretty much having seen the docuseries. So yeah, it was excellent.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, South Park season 26. Oh my god, 26. Jesus. So yeah, this is I believe the second or third year that they've been doing 6 season episodes, and of course they're also planning on doing, I believe they're doing either 2 or 3 a year for the Paramount Plus deal, where they're doing the 1-hour specials as well. And Dragon, this is it's so solid. It's this is just like banger after banger after banger when it comes to South Park. South Park goes through its hits and its misses. I remember back in the early 20 seasons, they were really trying to go into continuity and basically every season would be just one ongoing story. And I'm like, that's not the way to do South Park. You can't do South Park that way. And this just brings it right back, man. I mean, we've got they're lampooning Kanye. Let's see, what are some of the other big subjects we get into this season? There's a great episode that's just about Cartman trying to run a hot dog stand. And Dragon, I swear to God, it feels like the Founder. It feels like a parody of the Founder, and it's great.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's actually what it's making fun of, but it kind of feels like that. It's kind of it's this nice innocent thing, but also sort of something that Cartman really wants to profit off of.
I see.
Let's see. So yeah, just overall, I mean, all 6 episodes are just fantastic. Mr. Garrison has this plot line where they basically made him Trump for the election. And the writers really regretted doing that, first of all, because they didn't expect Trump to win. So when he did win, they were basically stuck with okay, we got to make this main character basically the president somehow. But they did a really smart thing with the season finale where they basically had Garrison kind of relapse into his political rallying. And it was a really fucking funny way that they did it. And they basically kind of left it on a, well, we'll have to wait and see sort of note for how they're going to handle that character going forward. The one episode I didn't really care for, they had an episode that's about Japanese toilets, which very much felt hey, Matt and Trey got a Japanese toilet and they're fixated on it and they want to talk about it.
Yeah, people love the Japanese toilet for some reason. They love the thing.
Oh, but I will say there's one episode about GDT or GPT. I'm sorry, Chat GPT, which is basically the the AI writing tool. It's fucking hilarious. Oh my god, it's it's all about how people are using that to basically cheat their way through life, and it's great. So Yeah, like 5 out of the 6 episodes in this season, I think, are all just bangers. And the Japanese toilet one is funny too. It's got some really good Randy Marsh humor because, of course, fucking Randy Marsh is going to be the person to, to go on about that. It also lampoons Meghan and Harry as well, Dragon.
Really?
So, yeah. They want their privacy. They really want their privacy.
God. Yeah.
So overall, I think season 26 is just a resounding success. Like, I know you're not a South Park guy, and I know you're not going to watch it, but like for me, who is a South Park guy, but also someone who acknowledges that South Park has its ups and downs, like this is a way better season than anything that like South Park or Family Guy has been shitting out recently for sure. So yeah.
No, I'll give South Park this. At least they're still trying. I mean, from the sounds of
Well,
it.
they absolutely are still trying. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, let me tell you about Mayor of Kingstown, Season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this again, this is Jeremy Renner's show in which he kind of plays the de facto again kind of mayor of basically kind of kind of a prison town in which basically everything runs through the prison. And they have to ask he's kind of like a fixer like Mike Ehrmantraut who kind of runs the town. Only he gets more stressed out than Mike Ehrmantraut does. Not that let me put it this way, he's still calm, cool, and collected. It's just the fact that Mike Ehrmantraut, he would have this thing nipped in the bud like instantly, whereas it takes him a whole season to do it. So this is the aftermath of season 1. Season 1 ended in a big prison riot, which again it was kind of building through the whole first season. Like there was a prison riot, which is the last thing that he wanted, and it happened. And now he's dealing with the chaos in the streets because there's no gang leadership because essentially all the stuff that happened in the prison, all the dealers and everything, all the people who operate in the prison either got killed in the thing or something happened to them. So point being, everything's in chaos after that season. So the problem is like there's no one like reporting anyone outside of the prison, which is just leading to random crime, which they can't have. So Mike has this insane plan.
His name's literally Mike.
I know, right? Mike McCluskey. So yeah, I know. So that's the thing. So McCluskey or Mike, he basically has this insane plan to basically trick and kind of like convince the gang leaders to go back to prison with the promise that they'll be pulled out because he'll make it happen. So they do, so they can regain control of their turf and assign new leaders to run the operation. So it's like not chaos out in the streets. And let's just say things go wrong as they tend to do for poor McCluskey.
It's like a theme park ride.
Sure. Anyway, so I'll admit, I love the season's good, but there's two things working against it for me compared to the first season. The first season did build to something really huge happening, and everything paid off quite nicely there. Season 2, it definitely feels like they were banking on season 3, but then Jeremy Renner, we got injured. So it sounds like they're still going to do season 3, but it's going to be a long wait.
Right.
So that's unfortunate because we have a few things that are unresolved in terms of like, it seems like we're building this stuff. We didn't do it, surely for the promise of more. But the main thing that bothers me is that we had kind of a B story that was going on. Like when we cut away from the Mike stuff, that was it was Iris. Iris was like the lady for the first season, was like a dancer, and she's kind of like knows how to bamboozle people out of money and stuff, and kind of basically charm. Like she's like a stripper who doesn't have to put in half the work. Mm-hmm. So Iris, she grew on me in the first season. I kind of grew to like Iris because she kind of grows to like Mike, and it's not a sexual thing at all. There's just kind of like because she's younger than him. Anyway, this season though, it's like Iris, like he in the first episode he goes out of his way to save her, and then she just kind of torpedoes that and goes back in with the bad people. And I'm just throwing my hands up in the air. It's like I question all of her actions this season. It just doesn't make sense to me, and that really bothers me. And so that's my gripe with season 2, which again, hopefully a season 3 will resolve, but probably not for a while. So if you ever want to get caught up, Tiki, with Paramount Plus, Mayor of Kingstown.
Right.
Let's see, is there, am I going to, yeah, okay, so last second, I'm going to try to keep this brief. So, Shrinking, season 1. This is one I'd recommend to you, Tiki, but you're not going to be able to watch it because it's on Apple TV Plus.
Oh, joy.
Okay, but just let me. Long and short of it is, this is from Jason Segel. The stars Jason Segel. It's him and one of the Ted Lasso guys, Brett Goldstein, who was an actor on Ted Lasso, also is a writer and creative guy. So they did the show. It's the shorthand would be, it's kind of like Ted Lasso but with therapy. Essentially, Siegel is processing his wife's death, not well, and he's a flawed therapist. Like, he's not the best at his job, but he tries. And basically, the whole premise of the show is he's trying kind of a vigilante approach to therapy. Essentially, he's breaking all the therapy rules.
That's fun.
That's actually getting interesting results with the patients, and there's consequence. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And they're like, yeah, let's reward them. So there's pros, but there's also some cons, and calling him out on this is Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford's in this show, and he's in a comedy, and he's really good at playing a straight man in a comedy. He's really good at it. And the drama with Harrison Ford is that he's dealing with Parkinson's, like Parkinson's to the point where he can't hide it anymore. He's got to kind of like he's dealing with, like, how is he going to tell his daughter about the Parkinson's? There's a lot of, and it's just he's wonderful. He's the highlight of the show. This show's quirky in all the right ways, Tiki. It has like the Ted Lasso feel good and kind of fun quality to it, applied to, like, like light the fact. Sometimes life's gonna suck, but you gotta do your best. And yeah, so basically I'll tell you like this. It ends on a very interesting cliffhanger that you kind of have to see. It's well built up, this cliffhanger, so it's not like an out of left field sort of thing. It's like, okay, we built this up, and this says something about the season as a whole, which I'm very much looking forward to seeing explored in season 2.
Those are the best cliffhangers, man.
Yeah, so I think you'd love the show, but obviously you got hurdles to jump through to watch this show, so good luck with that. Yeah.
All right,
that's the TV stuff.
So catch up. All right. Okay, we'll start with All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. This is, of course, the Oscar nominee for Best Documentary. And Dragon, I gotta say, between Fire and Love and this, the Oscars actually nominated some stuff that's interesting this year. Yay, they did it. Look at them go. Oh, seriously, though, this was pretty captivating, right? I thought so.
Yes, I'll admit, it's good, but it doesn't eclipse the one that actually won the Oscar for me, Navalny. That one was really good.
You know what's funny about Navalny is you're the only person I've heard that genuinely really likes it.
Yeah,
everyone else I've heard from basically is like taking the position of like, yeah, it won because it's current and political and topical.
I mean, it's not even just that; it's the fact they literally tried to kill this guy and he survived. That's a really good sell. It's like he's like, these guys are gonna kill me. I want to stop them.
But I don't know. I thought this was, I will say, out of the 2 documentaries nominated that I saw, I prefer Fire of Love to this. I will say that much. But I thought this was really good, though. What I really like about it is I really like the structure of it. How we're kind of like going, going back and forth between the subject's life and what brought her to this place. And then kind of like contrasting that with her battle against the Sacklers. Every time the Sacklers got brought up, I just thought of Stubarg. Like like his image is just in my head of that, which kind of made the experience of watching it a little bit weird. There are some moments that are genuinely hard to watch, like that one moment where the Sacklers are kind of forced to be in the same room with the victims and hear the victims out.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like I thought it was really good. But Fire of Love, I think, is genuinely like amazing. So it's not like I don't think I'm gonna like be returning to this or anything. But for what it was, I thought it was very well made and very well structured.
I mean, here's my issue with it. Okay, so the structure's got, I particularly like the whole slideshow photo thing. That was really good. My issue is that, I mean, I think I'd have to rewatch it to be sure, but I don't know if I'd rush to rewatch it because I feel like the opioid crisis, obviously with the Sacklers being represented, it's there, so we know the threat. But I think it gets a little lost in getting there because we're spending a lot of time getting to know the subject with Nan Golden. So it feels more about, honestly, HIV and AIDS and stuff in terms of like the other struggles that she's.
I feel like that's kind of like that might be our or differentiating point, Dragon, because for me, I felt like it did a really good job kind of contrasting the two, if that makes sense.
I mean, I get that we kind of there's a crossover kind of nexus point with the whole like she almost died from the from the oxycontin, which kind of like led her to kind of look upon things here, and then form pain and go up against the Sacklers and everything. All that's good, but I feel like I don't know. Maybe we should have. I don't know. It feels like we did. Did you recall? Did we openly mention the oxycontin? And did we build to that?
Well, we opened with the art museum protest with the bottles.
Yeah.
I don't think we really get into detail about it though until later. I think we build to it.
I don't know if that was a mistake or not. I mean, clearly I wasn't nominated for an Oscar, so what do I know? But
well, they didn't nominate "Won't You Be My Neighbor"? So what do they know?
Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. We might be on the right side of history there. Who knows? Anyway, again, this was good, but I'll admit. I think I was really hyped for this one. I was expecting more of like direct, like, because again, the fact that this is kind of supplementary to Dope Sick is I expect maybe a little bit more of like, okay, this is going to lead to that big, awesome real life moment from Dope Sick. And we did get that, but just the road getting there, I don't know. But it was necessary, I admit. Just, I don't know. I think it warrants a rewatch at some point in time. But yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, you got 3 mystery movies.
Yeah. Okay, you ready?
Sure.
Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Okay, finally.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was better than I expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I heard a lot of buzz since. I'm saying ever since the
Dragon. Honestly, I feel like at this point people are like hyping it up so much that I'm like, okay, it's really good, guys. Don't get me wrong. It's easily the best DreamWorks thing we've had in a while, but I wouldn't call it like one of the best animated films ever made. Like people are literally like holding far, guys.
Yeah, I remember when I saw the trailer for this movie, I was kind of in, and then I was at like I saw like the kind of the toilet humor. I was like, oh come on, man, like we're just kind of like the trailer ultimately is a little misleading when you look at it because it looks like he's going to be saving the old lady for the movie. That's kind of what it implies.
Right.
Which I'm thinking, really, that's our Puss in Boots movie? He's going to be saving the lady that is kind of the result of this gag. Clearly, the movie was not that. It was better. The new style's great. It feels like it's a nice kind of refreshing kind of like dip back into the world of Shrek without overblowing it. So again, it's kind of building that. And based on the ending, we're kind of re-entering the Shrek universe in a cool way. This, I mean, obviously the best part of this movie is the embodiment. I mean, we kind of spell he's not the embodiment; he is death. So the wolf, death, amazing. So I love to me the best part of the movie was exploring the fear of death. Now that Puss is down to his last life, and just kind of seeing kind of that in our narrative and seeing him fearful and kind of him processing that and all of that was great. Like the theme, like the overall theme, wonderful. John Mulaney, very funny.
Oh God, he killed it. I thought.
Oh, for sure. I'm iffy on the dog, though. I'm iffy on Perito, the therapy dog. I'm iffy on him.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear that. I'm not like I'm at the point now where it's like I don't dislike him, but I also don't love him.
Right? Yeah. So let's see. So the only like Florence Pugh as Goldilocks. That's a lot of fun. We have like all this great English talent.
I love that dynamic, dude. I thought that dynamic was so creative. I thought you could have done a whole movie just with that.
Oh yeah, agreed. I mean, I like the fact that they were all like these great English talents.
And her fixation for getting things just right.
I know. Yeah, it's great. No, that's what I'm saying. Like it's like we're dipping a toe back into the kind of like the fairy tale world building of Shrek. That's a lot of fun what we did there, and the fact that we kind of acknowledge there's only so many fairy tales.
I don't know. I just find it really refreshing that like this movie has both like a very existential, terrifying villain with death, but then also a villain that's just like, look at me and how evil I am and how fucking much I love being evil with Jack Horner.
Yeah, so I like that. You know, with Jack Horner's, like we're kind of acknowledging, yeah, we're going to run out of fairy tale characters, essentially. So we're going to use a fable, a character from a fable. He's not going to be happy about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's the thumb guy. He got outshined by Pinocchio.
He stuck his thumb in a pie. What do you want?
Anyway, here's the thing. This kind of bothered me with the Horner stuff. Our ethical bug, the Jiminy Cricket knockoff. No real payoff there. It was funny, but just up to that point, there's no real payoff.
Yeah.
You know, let's see. So also okay. So the other thing too is that the wishing star aspect. The wishing star aspect, very MacGuffin-y. And I know
it totally felt like a Pirates of the Caribbean movie plot for me. I totally agree. That's the weakest element of the plot for me.
I don't even know if I can really, because it kind of made me think back to something. You look at like Wacko's Wish. And obviously it's something very similar. Now we're going to the wishing star essentially, and it just kind of occurs to me that there might be just an inherent flaw with the wishing star because again, this is what I was fearing when I saw the trailer. I wasn't seeing the wishing star plot, but just in general, like the idea once I heard like the whole okay, he's 9 lives, and he might have a way to get it back. It's like okay, it's gonna be one of two things: either he gets the lives back and learns nothing, or he wishes for something else. When we get there, we make a wish, and it's going to be kind of pointless. Or we don't get the wish, so why are we going to the wishing star? So you box yourself into a no-win situation with the wishing star because you have phenomenal cosmic power and a star, and we don't really, I mean, right or no or
yeah, I hear you.
But overall, though, of course, great time. I mean, I really like the not like what I compare to the other DreamWorks movies, but I like the first Puss in Boots movie, and I like the fact that we didn't like forget Kitty softballs or anything. We kind of continued with it, but in a kind of re-energized.
But I like the fact that like if you haven't seen the first Puss in Boots movie, you really don't need to.
That's what I'm saying. So it's like they recaps Kitty softballs and her whole shit.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I like that we had we had kind of a nice medium there. So yeah, so it was good. It was good. I think it lived up to the hype, but maybe not the overhype that it's getting now.
I feel that because at this point I'm kind of feeling the overhype myself.
Because I mean, if you ask me between this and the Pinocchio movie, I'm still probably leaning towards Pinocchio because you also get a death thing in that too. It's really good. With this, I'm like I would go to Puss in Boots purely for like the Puss arc and the death and everything, and like they got some laughs. But that's the thing. I personally, I think the right one still won the Oscar, but this. I understand this one absolutely deserves a nomination, which you got. So,
All right. Mrs. Harris goes to Paris.
Yeah, so speaking of handicapping things based on titles, Tiki, why don't you tell us about Miss Harris Goes to Paris?
This is a warm hug of a movie, man. This gave me the same vibe as like the Paddington movies. They're not as good as Paddington. It's not as good as Paddington, don't get me wrong, okay? But you know how in the Paddington movies, literally everybody is just so fucking pleasant?
Yeah?
Yeah, this is the exact same vibe, Dragon.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm really not.
So you're telling me this movie is like a little old lady goes to Paris and has a good time?
Yes!
That's what this movie is.
It's delightful.
Okay, I'm sold.
Delightful.
I'm just saying I'm sold. I was wondering. So she goes to Paris. And she has basically it's a Hallmark movie. That's what you're telling me right now.
Well, I mean, kind of, but it's shot well. It's shot well. Like there's some genuinely good location shooting, and there's like good actors in it, and it's good performances. But it's just genuinely just a really, really nice, feel good movie.
Yeah, I wish you would have intimated. I would have watched this had you told me, intimated, this movie was very pleasant.
Well, that's what we're doing this show for.
That's a good point. Okay.
So yeah, I mean, Dragon, this is truly like Pleasantries the movie. It really is one of those movies.
Well, you haven't seen The Intern.
No, I haven't. But it truly is just one of those movies where just everyone is just so nice and it's fucking delightful.
Everyone just wants to see this little old woman achieve her dreams, and it's fucking so nice.
Yeah, have like the Expendables only it's the pleasant version in which you have all the likable kind of overly likable movies just kind of like combine.
I mean, that's basically the book club movies, honestly.
Well, yeah, but what if we're like they were doing something kind of like less just like it's a book club, like something a little more,
Right,
they're going somewhere, they're doing something. Like they're
they're making a second book club movie, right? That's why I say movies. All right. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely like a movie that was kind of in that same vein of like, I just want something nice, and this achieved that in spades. So yeah. All right, mystery movie number 2.
Okay. Another Oscar contender.
Okay.
Triangle of Sadness.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
I'm not overly crazy about this one myself.
So I thought this, the main reason I watched this is Woody Harrelson, the whole the boat thing, but it's a mixed bag to a degree.
I warned you Harrelson wouldn't have a lot of screen time, right?
I don't know if you did necessarily. Well, at the very least, when you said not a lot of screen time, I didn't think you meant like this much, like not a lot of screen time. Like, I thought he would have survived the boat thing at least,
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the movie's a bit of a mixed bag. I appreciate the 3-act structure. I do, as per usual. I like a good 3-act structure. I like what they're going for there. However, the biggest weak point for this movie for me is Act 1 with the setting up the couple, and we have like the Curb Your Enthusiasm-esque argument, which I mean, is like, I mean, in concept, I think that's great, but getting there just took like I wish we started on the date at least, instead of like, like I don't know what's going on here. I'm watching like a model thing or like a dance class. I don't know what this is.
Right.
A bunch of like, what is it? Like a bunch of Danish people dancing or Swedish people dance. What was the who? I'm trying to remember. It was like Norwegian filmmaker on this.
Dutch.
It's like a bunch of Dutch guys dancing.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the boat stuff is great. That's the best. That's the movie right there. The boat stuff's great. We're mocking.
I think the whole movie should have just been the boat stuff. Honestly,
if I had to pick, I would say yes. I would agree with you on that
because the cinematography is on point.
Mm-hmm. I think all the good commentaries in that section there. And, Woody Harrelson, he's really fun during that. I got to admit. That said, I do love the pirate turn. I love that reveal. I love the reveal that, oh God, these idiots, while this is going on, are about to like the next one, like Somali pirates are about to take the ship. And I gotta admit, it is a bold choice. I debate if it should have gone on as long as it did, just given that the boat stuff was really good. It's the fact that we have Somali pirates.
It's a long movie.
Yeah. Admittedly, when we mentioned the island, I was unsure. Given how the movie started, I was thinking maybe they're not going to. Maybe it's going to be like a brief third act sort of thing with the island.
No, I wish.
That's the thing. I was thinking. I was kind of interested in the choice of like, okay, so we're not going to basically turn this into Captain Phillips with an eat the rich kind of.
Right.
But then just the fact that okay, we the stuff happened and they're on an island, but I was thinking maybe okay, like they're on the island for like 20 minutes, but was not the case. So yeah, the power shift on the island is good though. We have like the Abigail or something, the cleaning lady. She's in charge, and so I mean the island stuff is not bad.
But she would have been more set up in the second act, though. That's my big kind of issue with that.
I agree. Like, we kind of saw.
I feel like she kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah. How did you feel with the vomit scene? By the way, remind me how you felt about it.
The movie, and honestly, one of the most impressive like comedy set pieces I've ever seen, just as far as like the actual technical elements of it.
Yeah. See, it took me a while to realize, like, okay, it was because the food spoiled. They got it for initial. Honestly, I thought it was like a thing where like we
Well,
shouldn't
it's
be
because the
eating.
food was spoiled because they didn't have a chance to prepare it because the idiot fucking rich lady like sent them all to do that recreation shit.
I know. That's great. I mean, initially,
Yeah.
I think at first I was thinking like I might have missed I didn't connect the dots instantly, in which I thought, man, this is why I hope people on cruise ships.
I think it was like a combination of that and the kind of the seasick factor.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, I think it was because like they're in a storm and the boat's shaking more than it
Right,
should.
right.
So that's what I was wondering. Like, is it? But yeah. Okay, so I'll say this though, the ending really, it feels like one of those cases where if it ended just like a minute sooner, I think it would have been better. It's the fact that we could have ended on ambiguity of like, does she hit her with the rock? Hit her with
I agree. I really don't like the ending.
And then we have that dope running for his life for reasons we don't know.
It's a shitty ending.
Here's the thing. Technically, we end on an ambiguous note, but it's ambiguous in the wrong way.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Good ambiguity 1 minute prior. Bad ambiguity. He's running. Why is he running? What is happening? Woody Harrelson, save me! Where are you?
Yeah, Dragon, you and I are pretty simpatico on this.
Yeah, there you go.
All right. Okay, Dragged Across Concrete. You did see this, right?
Yeah, we both saw this. I organized things a little differently here, so we can kind of space things out. But we both saw Dragged Across Concrete.
So I don't know about you, man, but I was I was riveted by this.
Really? I'm surprised you liked this.
I really liked this a lot. I really did. You want to set it up a little bit because you're probably better at doing that than I am.
Sure. So this is basically kind of like a modern noir thing. I think they call it neo-noir. Technically, it's a solid noir piece. Ultimately, this is it's admittedly it's a little on the long side, but for example, while this is not a Mel Gibson directed film, I do feel we kind of maybe leaned into some of the some of the adult stuff. Like we need to open on a sex scene. I felt
I strongly agree. Yeah, I don't like, just generally speaking, I feel like you know how I feel about that.
Right. It feels it felt like a little weird because again, it didn't really add anything to the story.
It really didn't add anything.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Sometimes there's like it felt Gibson-esque in terms of doing stuff like that, but also some of the violence. Not that the violence was like out of place necessarily, but anyway, the point being, so the story is we basically have two stories that collide into each other in the movie, which is a good idea. We have this Henry, this kid who got paroled after getting revenge on the people that crippled his brother. He got put in prison for a justifiable reason, and basically he did a good, he did something understandable that landed in prison. And then you have two detectives who are seemingly honest cops, but they basically got the impression I got was they were contemplating doing their first dirty thing, and they basically rough and tumble. They had Mel Gibson, Vince Vaughn. The director on this really likes working with Vince Vaughn, so that's why Vince Vaughn's in this. And they have honestly one of my favorite scenes in the movie. I love the introduction of these characters. I love seeing a very realistic drug bust go on here, with the fact that they're camping out. It's unglamorous. There's waiting.
Yeah, totally.
And I love the idea of like they're just going to go there and just like ask something really banal, and the guy is going to bolt, and that's how they're going to catch him. And I like what we're saying about, kind of like this like thin line to walk in the PC world, in which this guy's a drug dealer, not like a harmless kind of drug dealer, not a guy who's trying to earn a few bucks for like, something recreational. This guy's like, he's dealing the children that's going to hurt him and stuff. This guy's a bad guy. The girlfriend is like, is going to grab a gun and stuff, like that, that sort of thing. Like that's not good. These guys deserve to go down a little hard, and if they were lied to, I mean, they were lied to. So there's that's the thing. There's in quotes, it's police brutality only because it was caught on film.
So let me tell you about, like, for me, the whole thing of like you spend so much time with these two cops.
Yeah.
Just I love the stakeout element of this movie. I like it feels so lived in. I also feel like this movie does an incredible job with character setup. When we get introduced to the, I believe his name in the credits is just literally like Black Gloves. Like that first scene in the convenience store, I'm just like, oh shit. You know what I mean? It's one of those villain introductions where it's like, okay, like this guy is not fucking around. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think of oh God, blanking on the actress's name from Dexter?
Oh yeah, the Jennifer Carpenter.
Yeah, Jennifer Carpenter. What? Because I thought that I felt like it was really impactful, like how we kind of take a little bit of a detour to follow her character and really get into her headspace, ultimately for it to be, for what to happen. That to me was actually one of the stronger parts of the movie. Just the fact that the movie is unafraid to kind of like linger on and dwell in these characters, and these characters aren't glamorous, and it's a very unglamorous movie in a lot of ways. I don't know, man. I really got pulled into it. I really felt like this had a really, really rich flavor to it.
I mean, the best part of this movie was stuff like what you're talking about. It's just the fact that we had these really grounded, like understandable kind of like moments of humanity that were associated with these characters. Like, Vince Vaughn's like trying to propose to his girlfriend, but he has had money troubles. Gibson's, I loved how Gibson was. I love seeing his home life. I love seeing what it's basically understand the whole. I think the movie.
It's like a good version of Crash, Dragon. That's what I was reminded of.
It's like the movie about understanding why people make these big choices that these big defined choices that they make, with the exception of the bad guys, because the bad guys are, in a way, we kind of stripped away everything we know about the bad guys because they're immaterial. That's why they're wearing
totally.
Which is they have a really cool gimmick too, the whole voice changer, the whole mask and the glove, the black glove thing, all that. So just the fact that we see these human moments where Gibson's wife was a cop who developed MS, and the daughter is getting bullied on the streets, and it really upsets him. And he knows he can't he can't go full like Charles Bronson on the neighborhood. It's not going to solve his problem. So and then we have like Jennifer Carpenter, in which we have this heartbreaking thing where like a woman who's probably, if I'm a betting man, I'm going to say probably has like a postpartum thing going on where it's like maternity leave and she's not ready to leave her baby. And I love the desperation. We've never seen Jennifer Carpenter play desperation over a child like this before. And it's
totally.
It's really moving. Admittedly, her last moment though, that's a bit of a buy. The whole "give my baby this booty." I don't know.
Yeah,
it's a buy. It's a buy. But I think brutally though, we do something horrible to her when we with the thing. Oh God, how that affected me. What we did to her. Right before she met an untimely end.
The movie is very long, like it's 2 hours 40 minutes, but honestly, Dragon, for me it felt like the rare exception where I really didn't mind it being as long as it is, because I really felt like that runtime, it was just kind of like marinating in the I liked it way more than I thought I would.
So when our stories cross over in the third act, majorly, I love how that goes down, but I do want the fact that the unfortunate thing that happens in the car between the two guys, it happens over such a petty reason, don't you think?
Yes, but I also feel I don't know.
Right. I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? You cut out.
I said I thought that it was realistically petty. It's petty, but it's petty on like a realistic level.
All right, I mean,
especially because like Mel Gibson has been, like, both his character and in real life has been screwed over by video footage.
That's fair. That's fair. And but I do. I wonder ethically though, if by the end of this thing we're rewarding, like in a sense, it feels. I don't know if it's like how intentional this is or not. It's like it feels like we're rewarding the wrong person, or like something like obviously something goes sideways for a petty reason, but there's a lot of tension in the room. There's a lot of tension in the car, more accurately. I don't know. Just it feels like in the old school way of thinking, we would have just given a certain character the win, but then we kind of reverse it here, and it feels like I don't know how justified that is, because we do set up this character as he does have redeeming qualities, but it feels like we may have overcompensated the win for him. It feels like we gave this guy.
I agree. I'm not crazy about the ending.
Yeah, so I'm iffy on the ending, but I mean, like in principle, it works. It just feels maybe a little unbalanced, and yeah. I'm sorry, what? Hello? All right. Okay, so we're gonna move on.
That for me was like the most. You there? Hello?
Okay, yeah, Tiki, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't know why this, like, I don't know why it randomly decides to do that sometimes.
Yeah, okay, sorry. So you were saying something before I interrupted you.
It's all good. Let's just move on.
Okay. That brings us to mystery movie number 3.
Uh,
Okay, you're gonna love this. Marcel the Shell with Shoes On.
okay.
Yeah, this yeah, yet another surprising win for me for A24. I love this. I really
nice.
This for me was this was my Paddington of the month.
Oh yeah, no, it's absolutely got the Paddington vibe for sure.
Yeah,
it's a little bit more road weary than Paddington is, but it's absolutely got that vibe.
Yeah, and Jenny Slate, just charms everyone. It's magnetic.
Such a fucking adorable voice performance, man.
I know, right? Oh god, I love the documentary format. I love that Marcel, the actual director of the movie, Dean Flesher Camper, that befriended each other and just are making this movie. It's meta, but despite it being a little seashell. There's just such humanity in this. It's just utterly astonishing the amount of humanity that is in
the
this
grandmother, dude. The grandmother for me is like everything.
Played by the great Isabella Rossellini. She plays Connie.
I love the world building that she immigrated from the garage.
It's really funny.
That's why she has a thick accent.
Yep. Because apparently the garage is Italy. You wonder how the rest of the geography of that Airbnb.
I know, right?
Anyway, because we do have like broken English and foreigners and like little thimble guys, so you know. Okay, so anyway, I love how Slate plays Marcel like a real kid, despite the illogical logic that's at play here. So like I love just the conversation amongst them and the fact that it's like the world building of like how they do things around the house. So it's kind of like Paddington meets The Borrowers. It's kind of the best way I could describe this,
If you're a fan of Rube Goldberg machines, man, this movie is just going to be your jam.
Absolutely. I mean, honey in this case, it's like you're walking around and all that honey instead of jam. But yeah,
right.
But I mean, honestly, my only gripe, I have one very, very small, literally small gripe. Okay, the sentient food is where like this. There's no truth to this art. It's like right at the very end, essentially. We see all the other the shells and everything. We see like what these food items shouldn't be alive. What is this?
Yeah.
How dare you, Dean?
Oh my god!
But no, I love the film. I love the filmmaker and the subject becoming friends. I love when we do the road trip. Honestly, my favorite gag with Marcel, believe it or not, I mean it's not as much as it's kind of a fun, cutesy version of Triangle Sadness to a degree. It's Marcel getting car sick and just being really apologetic, but so tiny. He's like, no, it's okay. I'm so sorry. I love the apologetic. I love it when the shell gets apologetic, man. I dig it so much. Anyway, also, this is the thing that caught me on the rewatch. I watched this twice. I love it so much.
Nice.
The disappointment in the influencers.
Yep.
Just the fact of like, hey, maybe these guys will help me find.
I mean, I feel like it's super true to life, though. I feel like it's it's a good kind of social commentary.
Yep, and obviously, what happens to Connie just utterly gut wrenching.
Dude, the whole thing with that, like, I legitimately felt the suspense of this movie where it's like, God damn it, I know they're gonna kill off that grandma. I just don't know when they're gonna do it.
I just love like all the little touches, like when she's like, like we reveal through the filmmaking and the editing that she's been hiding the symptoms and everything.
Right, yeah.
But I think my favorite gag, one of my favorite gags in the whole movie is as they're going over the backstory of how they were all separated and everything. We just kind of interrupt the whole so we were watching 60 minutes. Wait, 60 minutes? Yeah, 60 minutes. Anyway, so this is wait, so just like the show, like the new show? Yeah, we call it the show. In fact, it's a big event. We love it. Yeah,
right.
Leslie Stahl, we love her.
And
the fact that we got Leslie Stahl.
Oh my god.
So just an utterly delightful movie. I mean, honestly, it might be my favorite A24 film, possibly.
I wouldn't blame you for that.
Mind you, I have a select pull of the
Yeah.
A24 films. Mind you, probably I can count them on one hand.
I mean, for me, nothing's going to beat the Ari Aster movies, but that's a very specific taste.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Princess Goddamn Mononoke. Dragon, have you seen this?
I have, but admittedly, it has been a while. I usually go to the other Miyazaki. A few of the other. I'm not caught up in all the Miyazaki stuff, but I have seen Mononoke, but it's been forever.
Okay. This blew my mind.
Yeah?
This blew my mind. It blew my freaking mind. For me, it's easily the best Miyazaki movie. I don't know what the hell I was waiting on to watch it. I really don't. I mean, Spirited Away is great, but I feel like this has Spirited Away in a lot of ways is kind of like a more sophisticated Alice in Wonderland, whereas this it's epic, man. This is epic. I have never seen an animated movie for adults, which this clearly is, done in such a compelling way. I mean, this is one of the most epic animated movies I have ever seen in my life. Hands fucking down. I love this. I really do. I think everything about it is pretty spectacular. The world building is amazing. I think the characters are all really well fleshed out. I really love the fact that there are characters that could technically be considered villains, like Minnie Driver's character, but at the same time, Minnie Driver's character is a truly good person who literally has she brought in a leper colony when nobody else would take them in. I mean, it's, the movie is just it's rich with that kind of moral ambiguity. No one is really a truly bad person, but there's people who are, it's very much a man versus nature kind of thing. It's easily the best interpretation of Dances with Wolves I've ever seen, especially because it has actual wolves in it, Yeah. I will say that Claire Danes as the title princess, her voice acting's not great, in the dub. I will say that. People have pointed that out before, and yeah, it's definitely true. Billy Crudup plays the main character, and he does a great job. Billy Bob Thornton does a great job. So it's everyone else except for Claire Danes is wonderful. Keith David is in there. His character design is amazing. I love the characters. I love the creatures. The forest setting, it's all just, it took my breath away. It really did. I mean, it's genuinely probably one of the best animated movies I've ever seen. Disney, Pixar, otherwise, it's up there. And like I said, I just don't know what took me so goddamn long to see it. Ooh. So yeah.
Let me ask you this: where does it stack up with the other Miyazaki stuff for you, Mr. Rankin?
Well, like I said, I think it's the best.
Really? So you're saying top, at the top?
At the top, yes.
Really?
For what I've seen, yes.
Okay.
And the only stuff I haven't seen is the stuff that he does with the young romance type stuff. Just I don't really care for that kind of genre. But yeah, of all his epic fantasy stuff, this is at the top for me.
Okay.
All right.
Let me tell you about The Protege. So yeah, The Protege is a nice and simple one on Amazon. It's essentially Sam Jackson is a assassin. He's kind of assassin for hire. He goes on a mission and he adopts a kid. He adopts Maggie Q as a little girl in Vietnam and raises her, and they kind of have a nice kind of found family dynamic. and it turns into a revenge quest where Maggie Q is, she's going on and she's kind of fulfilling Jackson's last wish in a sense. Michael Keaton's in the movie. He plays kind of like her equal in the film. He's they have a very unconventional relationship, to say the least, where there's a lot of flirtation going on. They're basically, Keaton's like charming and he's deadly. He's like a deadly agent working for the bad guy, so he kind of has to protect the guy even though he doesn't like him. But it's kind of interesting kind of space to put him in there. He's going up against her, and he kind of likes her. Here's the thing, the movie's almost like a simple full circle revenge movie, but there's a twist that I don't know how I feel about it. It's a twist that I think it's a hard buy. I think it's like, really, we did that. It's fun, but not a strong recommendation at all. It's like, unless you're looking for like all the Keaton, I don't think it's really It's like, what, I'm doing the ultimate Keaton binge before The Flash. I want all the Keaton. We're gonna work this in there too.
Yeah, The Flash is not going to be the movie that makes that happen.
Well, I know that, Tiki. I'm just saying something.
Maybe a Batman Beyond movie.
Right. Don't tease me with yes, I want that, obviously. But just people are going to be binging 89 like crazy this year. Trust me. They're going
no question.
Yeah, anyway.
All right. Okay, so I saw Bros. All right. This was delightful. Honestly, this was way better than I thought it would be.
I heard people really didn't like this. You like this?
I really did, Dragon. I really did. I don't know. Like, I mean, I'm just gonna are the people that don't like it like kind of homophobic? I don't know.
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know, but like smart money, probably.
I thought it was delightful. Obviously I'm not homophobic, and honestly, I really don't think it goes that graphic with any of the, the sexual stuff. I really don't think so. It's, I just thought it was really funny, really well acted, very heartfelt in some spots. I don't know what else there is to say, really. I think Billy Eichner does a good job. Luke McFarlane is Billy Eichner's romantic partner in this, and I don't really know him from anything, really. But he did a really good job as well. He has a lot of good chemistry. I don't know. This just, to me, it's basically like a raunchy R-rated romantic comedy that happens to be about two gay people, and for my money, it's just as enjoyable as any of the really good raunchy R-rated romantic comedies. It's maybe not up there with the best of the best, but I mean, it's up there, man. I really enjoyed it, and I feel like I will say that probably one of the reasons why people are giving it shit is that when it flopped, Billy Eichner basically did that thing where he's like, it flopped because you are homophobic and you don't want to see it because of homophobia. I'm like, Billy, even if that's true, that's not the way to handle the situation. So I feel like that's probably why the movie kind of has the reputation it does. But man, I was delighted by it. I really was. It was a nice breath of fresh air for me. It's been a while since I've seen a really good rom-com.
Okay. All right. Last one for me is Tig, as in it's the Tig Notaro documentary on Netflix.
Yeah.
Very interesting subject. We've seen Tig Notaro pop up now and again. I mean, very recently I saw her in the We Have a Ghost movie. She was the paranormal scientist. But before that, she's in Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead movie, so she pops up. I gotta be honest, this is the documentary approach to popular Netflix comedians. I really hope they do this for Bill Burr next.
Oh man, that'd be great.
This documentary came out in 2015, so I have a feeling the ship has sailed, but who knows? You never know. I think Bert Kreischer has got a TV show where he just hangs around a cabin, so
Oh my god, that's true. I've seen that.
Yeah. Wait, you saw the Bert Kreischer thing?
Well, I mean, I haven't watched it, but I've seen it like floating around Netflix.
Did you ever watch that stand-up about the machine that I told you about with Bert Kreischer?
I'm pretty sure I have. Yeah.
Yeah. How great is Kreischer, man?
He's great. He's also very problematic in a lot of senses, from what I've heard. Like just as a person.
Well, I mean, he kind of calls it out on stage, though. I don't know. Anyway, okay. Point being,
yeah. Thing he does. You're not wrong. He does.
Yeah.
I'm just like not problematic in the sense that like he's a really shitty person or anything. Just problematic in the sense that like you would not want to invite him to your party. Does that make sense?
Well, of course not, because he shows up, he's going to take his shirt off, and he's going to be drinking.
Exactly. Yeah.
But you know why, though? He's the machine.
Oh my god.
Anyway, so yeah, this is about Tig Notaro. It's about the struggle with she a lot of bad stuff happened to her. The breast cancer. She's tried to conceive a child, and her mother passed, and this thing kind of covers all that. And it kind of explains the origins of her, like her notable, the dry wit, the delivery that she's very much known for, real deadpan sort of delivery, kind of Daria-esque, But yeah, I mean, Tig Notaro is funny, man. She puts in the effort. I mean, there's this really funny thing. I think she was on like Conan or something, and she's really killed on Conan. But she's interesting subject. And again, I think I've watched that. I think I've watched some of her stand up as well. So it was good. This was good. Just I would I'm not exactly jazzed out of my mind about it, but it was good.
Cool. All right, and finally at the end here we have She Said, which is of course the biopic about the reporters who took down Harvey Weinstein. And yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah? It's not great, but it's good. It's very solid. What I like about it is it does very effectively do this thing where it uses like real recordings of Harvey Weinstein in the context of the movie itself. There's a very brief cameo from an unknown actor playing Harvey Weinstein. It's very brief. But ultimately it is a pretty revealing movie about just how much power he had, how scared people were. The really cool kind of running thing for me in this movie that I thought was kind of really engaging and kind of like a driving force of the plot was how many people that these women were talking to really wanted to go on the record, but couldn't. Like, that to me was a really compelling element of it. Like how Harvey kind of had a lot of the NDA of it all, how under lock and key everything was. There's one really great moment where one of the reporters goes to the house of someone they're trying to interview, and instead they run into the person's husband, who was completely unaware of everything. And so the reporter kind of has to break it to him. And it shakes her up though. It's like, oh shit, us doing this, do these people even want this to get out to their family? So it's very much there's, it's not as good as Spotlight for sure. Spotlight is great. This is just really good. But I would say it's in the same ballpark as Spotlight Dragon. I would say it's in that same kind of ballpark. And yeah, I think you'd enjoy it. I really do. Because it does really get into the nitty-gritty of the investigative side of things, and the journalist main characters are very compelling. So I had a good time with it. Again, not a great there's a reason why the Oscars passed it up. It's really, there's not anything that's outstanding about it in any area really. But for an investigative piece, I thought it was really compelling. So, all right. Dragon, this April is going to be busy. It's going to be very busy.
Is it though? What other movies are coming out?
We have the Super Mario Brothers
Well, obviously,
movie.
Yeah, that one, yes.
We have Paint.
Fair point, yeah.
We have Renfield.
Oh, yeah, Renfield. I keep forgetting it. Renfield's in April. Okay.
There's a couple that are more me than you, but for me, we have stuff like Evil Dead Rise and Beau is Afraid.
Okay, you're right. There's a lot in April.
Yeah, and then there's also Big George Foreman.
Well, I know you're breaking down the door to see that George Foreman movie. Yeah. You got to see that man grill some meat and punch it a few times too. He's gonna grill it. He's gonna hang it like he's drying laundry. He's gonna punch it a few times.
And then also Peter Pan and Wendy.
Yes.
So yeah. Pretty decent month. All right, best and worst. What do you got?
Well, I don't really think I have a worst this month. I mean, I'd be really petty if I just if I picked a worst here in this case, because worst. I mean, it's like I think I have nothing. I mean, I don't want to just say Triangle of Sadness because I didn't like the first act. I mean, I guess. I mean, if I had
kind of in a similar. Well, no, actually, no.
You actually.
I have a worst.
If I had to pick a de facto one, I guess Triangle of Sadness, but not an aggressive worst.
That's fair.
I had a lot of really good TV, but obviously that's not what we're looking for here right now. In terms of best movie, I'm going to say, again, it was not a heavy movie month for me. I'm going to say The Doom That Came to Gotham.
Okay, fair enough. All right. So yeah, for me, it's literally like one of the worst movies I've ever seen and one of the best movies I've ever seen. Like Princess Mononoke, it's truly up there with it's a striking piece of art as an animated film. And then 65 is just a pure dumpster fire and not even in a remotely fun way. So yeah. All right, well, folks, I think we've waxed on long enough. And it's time to put the pen down. But don't worry. We'll be back next time when we return for another finning chapter in our
Movie Memoirs.
Movie Memoirs.